Commissioners and staff, welcome to the study session for July 29th. Commissioners, we sincerely appreciate you joining us a little bit early. We needed a full hour this time to get through study session, and so we appreciate your flexibility. We've been cramming this into half hour, but we would anticipate with kind of some uptick in workload for our department. I think we can anticipate that we'll have enough future to continue holding this study session at 4:30. I would ask as staff runs through this study session, anyone who's on this, if you don't have your mic muted, if you could please mute your mic. If you don't need to have your screen up, for a lot of folks, or have your camera on rather, if you don't need to have your camera on, it might save you some bandwidth and you might see and hear things better if you have your camera off, just letting you know. So, Chair Ontiveros and Commissioners, we are going to jump right into the study session agenda. Staff will be letting you know what cases are going to be on your public hearing agenda for next month. We'll just give you a quick overview. We've got 10 of these to go through and see if you have any questions. We do have some applicants here, as applicants can speak at the study session, just to answer your questions. So we'll certainly try to avoid discussing any findings in these cases, as this is not the public hearing or merits of the case, and we'll try to keep any applicants also on board with that, and that this really isn't the time to discuss the merits of a case, but rather just to answer questions as to what's being requested and any logistics or technical questions. So the first case we're going to discuss on your study session agenda is CUP 2019. That is a conditional use permit request for a RV recreational vehicle as a permanent residence on 1 acre in the AR zone, and this is in Valley. Bob Short is managing this case. It looks like he's sharing his screen. And Bob, go ahead.
All right, I'm happy to see that it came up all right this time. Yes, good afternoon, evening, commissioners. This is a request for an RV as a permanent residence. It's out in the Valley area, pretty close to the 64-180 intersection. Although all around here, there's not very many people. There's not much development at all around this. Roadways are not fully developed either. We are taking pretty rudimentary plans for these particular cases, but they are to scale and they do show where things will be. So the blue is the RV and the red is a shipping container. It's a smaller version, doesn't require the CUP for that. In this case, the applicants would like to live here for a while and eventually they want to build a house on the property, but I don't think they have a clear timeline for that. So they just want to get this approved. And their plan for septic and for water is, it looks like, just to use the containers in the RV itself for that. So it's a pretty simple plan. With that, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Hello, Jess, are you there still? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, thanks, Bob. I needed to be reminded to unmute. So thanks for discussing CUP 2019. The second item on our agenda is CUP 2029. It is also a conditional use permit request for permanent residence in an RV, and this is in the Ash Fork area, and Bob is also managing this one. Thanks for sharing your screen, Bob. Go ahead.
Okay, and again, this is another one of those rudimentary kinds of site plans, but it is to scale and it shows what we need to know about this particular case. This is just kind of north of Ash Fork, right on the county boundary, off of Double Ranch Road, I believe, Double A Ranch Road. It's a 10-acre parcel, but it happens to be in the AR1 in the G zone, then it could be this particular application would be by right. They could have an RV on the property as a residence by right. It just happens that it's in the AR zone, which could be split into 10 pieces. They have some more complicated plans, more developed site, I'll say. There's an existing water tank on the site to use. There's an existing septic system. They have plans for a driveway, nice gravel driveway. So they have quite a bit more going on with this one. So it should be pretty easy to move their RV out there and set it up. And as you can see, it's kind of in the middle of the parcel, so it's not going to require a lot of development, or it doesn't need to be checked for setbacks so much because it is so far in the middle. Any questions on this one?
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. So the third item on the study session agenda is CUP 2035, conditional use permit for a Met Tower on Babbitt Ranches, 18 miles east of Valley. And Bob is also managing this one. And I see you already got your screen share. Thanks, Bob.
Hello again, commissioners. You've seen these a couple of times. This is actually the third one that we've done in the last 12 months or so on this property or in this general area. We've had a couple more in around this general area here. They're very familiar at this point. They're a little less than 200 feet tall. And they're basically meteorological towers that are meant to study meteorological conditions. We look at them as being a precursor to a wind farm in the future if they find out the conditions are favorable. As you can tell, it's way out there. I don't have my agenda, but I believe I said it's something like 16 miles straight east, almost east of Valley, right here at the intersection at Valley. So it's going to be kind of a difficult spot to find, but it's a very, very large parcel. Any questions on this case?
Thanks, Bob.
Are guests allowed to ask questions?
Bob,
Miss Webb, I believe. Yeah, this is study session where staff discusses what items. This is not public hearing. This is only where staff lets the commission know what items are on the public hearing agenda for next month. And the commission can ask questions of staff, and staff has a few resources available to help answer their questions. But yeah, this is not public hearing, so we can't take public comment on the study session. The public hearing will come at 5:30, and certainly that's when the public can comment on cases. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Bob, I had a question. This is Sod.
go ahead.
Yes,
Sal.
Mr. Best.
I assume that at this point we are routinely putting bird diverters on any guy wires, and there's no lights on the tower. Is that correct?
That's correct. They make it, I'm not sure if they make it that way, but if it's less than 200 feet tall, they don't have to have lights on it. And this has gotten pretty standard in terms of what we require. And bird diverters are definitely one of the things we require. And I also wanted to mention the AZT, Arizona Trail, goes right through here. And I think that's being realigned. So I believe I got some information from someone that was being realigned. But anyway, the Arizona Trail is pretty close to this Met Tower, and I believe it was close to some of the other ones as well.
And also, I'd like to point out, and I don't quite know the format for this, but I'll just throw it out there. I know Ms. Webb has a long-standing interest in utility scale wind, and I would just like to let her know that we are working on a new updated ordinance for that. And if she wants to be involved in that or eventually comment, she might want to talk to our county staff at another time and learn about that. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dot. Thanks for mentioning that. And for anyone listening, Melissa Shaw, our long-range planner, would be the person to contact. We're pretty easy to find through our website. You can always contact me, Jess McNeely, William McNeely, and we can get you in touch with Melissa and let you know where we're at with the renewable energy ordinance. Okay, any other questions on the Met Tower CUP? Okay, well, the next item 4 on the study session agenda for next month's public hearing, CUP 2036. That's CUP for an assisted living facility in AR 2.5 zoning. This is in Timberline Fernwood, and Zach is managing this case. And Zach's right here with me at our conference room, and he'll discuss it.
Okay, commissioners, so here's Timberline Fernwood area. Here's the subject property. It looks like it accesses from 89 onto Firehouse Lane, and then there's sort of a private easement down to get to the property. On the property is a house right here and a large garage. And in this house, there are 4 bedrooms. They want to convert, there's a garage on this house as well. They want to convert that into 2 additional bedrooms. So that would be a total of 6, where they would have infirmed patients with a maximum of 10. I believe that number 10 is a threshold that deals with either a building code issue or state licensing. But obviously, this conditional use permit, if the commission is able to make the findings and approve it, there would be conditions recommended by staff to meet those building codes and meet whatever state licensing is required. And I think that might require the applicant to remodel many different things on the inside. They might have to, and I'll try to detail in the staff report, I believe they might have to do some kind of sprinkling or that sort of thing, definitely meeting ADA requirements as far as ramps and door widths and sizes, that sort of thing. So that will be all kind of part of my my overview for the case. I think one concern that I'm looking at is I'm not sure who maintains Firehouse or this private easement, but if we're looking at a situation where possibly this property is going to generate more traffic, then I also want to take a look at will the applicants, pay their share, I guess, as far as maintenance and upkeep of the roads that they use to get there, if they're possibly doing more of an intense use than what the neighborhood typically has. So I am looking to see that, and I didn't see a full citizen participation plan, but I might have overlooked something. That's going to be a very important part of the discussion as well. But I didn't see any specific goals and policies in the Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood area plan that deal with this. But definitely, neighborhood compatibility is something important for this sort of use. So I'll be looking into that, and I'm happy if you have any input, comments, or questions.
Yeah, Zach,
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know if you can hear me. I do have a question for you, relative to the pre-app and the go forward from that. You might ask about snow removal during the winter. The road off of Firehouse is, as you said, it's a private easement. It is flat, however, so I would just suggest inquiring about how they plan to deal with that. That's an important issue in terms of emergency services during the winter. Even though they're very close to the fire station, nevertheless, it could pose a problem.
Thanks, Commissioner Ruggles. I've noted that. I'll take a look into that, and it's good that we have somebody, or that you're in that neck of the woods, so you can give me some of those details like that. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
And Commissioner Ruggles, this is why we have the study session. Thank you.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here.
Zach, this is Saad. When we do these projects that have easements across private property, do we ever run into a situation where the easement is only for residential use and not for commercial use?
Oh, Commissioner Best, so that's a tough one. Usually when people have these private easements, they're written up in a way that, this is my understanding, I'm not a surveyor or an attorney, but my understanding is they're written up in a way that sort of says the dedicated for access across my property to your property and whoever becomes sort of like an heir to that property, or as, ownership changes, whoever then is in that area. I don't really know if I've seen any specific language in the easements that say not for anything than single family residential. It's more about this is for this property to get to this property. But I can have the applicant supply us with the easement language, and we can make sure that there's nothing conflicting. Of course, that would be a private agreement between those property owners, but I think, it's good that you brought that up for the sake of, if we conflict too much with a private agreement, we don't want to abrogate that or that sort of thing. So I'll definitely look more into that, and I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, I can think of one case where turning an easement from private to commercial was a big element. It was a summer camp, so it was much more intensive, but we might just want to check on it.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Commissioner Best. And yeah, certainly private easements are just that, they're private, and often it takes legal actions between private property owners to figure out the easements. And we certainly put the burden on, in this case, the property owner and the applicant they have to have legal and physical access for whatever it is they're trying to do. So following, that was item number 4 on your study session agenda. The next item number 5 on your study session agenda, is a DRO, Design Review Overlay, DRO 2004. This would be in Belmont. We've got 2 in Belmont here. This is essentially an industrial project. It's an industrial zoning. I believe this is the Mark Crane project. I'll be managing this one. For those of us who worked on the Belmont DRO, the Belmont Area Plan DRO, it's a great opportunity to see it being used. I'm going to share my screen here so you can see this document. Okay, y'all seeing a set of elevations here? Is everyone seeing my drawings? Or seeing
Nope,
the set of drawings?
I'm only seeing the top edge of it.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
There you
Oh, that's
go.
better.
Now we can see it.
Okay. Well, let me get you to the site plan first. Appreciate everyone's patience with our use of technology here. Things are wanting to move a little slow. Okay, so here's the site plan. Oh, wrong site plan. Apologize. That's the next one. Here's the site plan for Marco Crane. You can see their landscaping at the front of their building and in their right of way. Pretty simple industrial sized building. See some offices and bathrooms and things on the north end, and large shop on the south end. And you see their parking lot out front. This is a larger blow up that shows kind of where there's up in the upper right hand corner, shows where their crane storage will be behind the main building and their customer parking. Now pulled up elevation. Everyone's seeing elevations now?
Yes.
Yeah, no
All right,
problem.
so this is relatively large, 2-story industrial building. They have certainly followed the formula that was prescribed by the Belmont Area Plan DRO. They're doing an industrial metal building, but they are sticking with earth tone colors, and they are providing a masonry accent. You see a masonry wainscot or water table at the lower part of the building, kind of helps give it some human scale there. And you see some masonry columns. Those masonry columns are holding up a wood open truss shelter that goes over the main entryway. So pretty good looking building, doing exactly what we've asked industrial buildings to do in these cases, adding a few details to make them blend into the local environments a little better. Any questions on this, the Marco Crane DRO in Belmont? Okay, if not, I'm going to leave my screen shared here and jump right into the next one. The next one is DRO 2005. It's design review overlay in CH 10,000, so heavy commercial zoning, also in Belmont and a little bit further, further east of the location that we were looking at with the Marco Crane. But here's the site plan for this commercial structure, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner kind of a Vicinity Map of where they are located. This project is a little more speculative for commercial zoning, and they intend to be renting out bays of their commercial building, and you see the hatched footprint of the commercial building on the site. When you look at this site, the site has a pretty significant encumbrance along the western boundary of a pretty wide easement that really uses up a lot of their property. Then heading east closer to the building, you see their drain field for their wastewater system. You see their parking lot, and their parking spaces numbered here, I believe 1 through 13, and their public parking to the north of the building, the main building, and then east of the building, more of their space is consumed with their on-site stormwater detention. This drawing also shows pretty nice design for a masonry enclosed dumpster stream. I will tell you that this site has already received a variance from the Board of Adjustment on their landscape plan. I'm now pulling up their landscape plan. Can everybody see it? The landscaping per our code that would be required for this site was 8 units of landscaping, and all they were able to fit on it was 3. As I discussed earlier on their site plan, the western edge of their site, really they don't have much use of because of access easement. So you can see where they fit in their landscaping. We feel they've done a pretty good job their landscaping, and this is the plan as was approved by the Board of Adjustments with their variance. Get into their building. This would be kind of their rear and side elevations, again going with earth tone colors per the Belmont area plan, and this would be more of their front and public facing elevations. This project also doing a masonry base or wainscot to the building, giving it a little more accent, and they have a wood bracketed covered entryway that you can see here that I'm pointing out with my cursor on their their northeast elevation that you see right here, and you see over their front door right here. So again, following the formula pretty well that's prescribed in the Belmont Area Plan DRO. Any questions on either of these DROs?
Yes, I've got something I'd like to ask you about that. Are they aware of the lighting requirements in the new Belmont area plan for lighting zone 2?
Yep. Yes, they are aware of the lighting requirements in both of their submittals indicate they both have narratives, and they both are fully aware that the lighting has to be per area 2. So thank you for that, Commissioner Ruggles.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions on these DROs? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the next case on your agenda is Zone Change 2008. It's a zone change from OS Open Space to CG 10,000 in the Blue Ridge area. We can tell you that this case did make it onto our study session. However, in working with the applicant, they will not go to public hearing next month. So we will not be hearing item 7 for public hearing in August. We would anticipate that item 7, which is zone change 2008, will be on your study session again next month. That brings us on to.
Jess, I've got a comment on that one.
Okay.
There is one place between Flagstaff and Williams where wildlife can cross the highway safely. This is the place. So please get Game and Fish involved, and let them know what's going on here.
Okay, and Commissioner Best, are you talking about what we've now, is it shared? What we've now shared on the screen, which is actually item number 8, zone change 2009, which would be the zone change from G to RR5?
Yeah, maybe I'm one ahead of you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I was just pointing out that item 7, which is actually down in Blue Ridge, is not going to be on your agenda for next month. So thanks for leading us in there, Commissioner Best.
Okay.
Zach is now going to present item 8 that you're mentioning.
I've got something I would like to ask you that is relative to item number 7 when it does come up. Having been out to that property and the 2 church properties adjacent a number of times, I recall that there was a fairly substantial easement along the east side of that property that was there to accommodate, I think it was a cattle drive or sheep at one time. And it would just be, I just appreciate you checking into that, because
Absolutely.
I think that came up with the cemetery and also with the church properties with the use permits that they had put in for.
Correct. Thank you, Commissioner Rose. Yeah, the property for item 7 that won't be on your agenda next month. Yeah, that property already has a use permit for a cell tower and cemetery. And in working with both of those cases, yeah, staff is aware, and it did show up on the site plans from those previous cases, that there is a old cattle drive easement on the east side of that property. So thanks for reminding us of that.
The reason I ask about that is that something like I know what the objections were to the cemetery and how vociferous some people were that were next to that. With that easement in place, it may serve as a buffer when we get down the road if the RV storage goes through or is heard. So that's the only reason I asked about that. Just kind of thinking ahead a little bit here.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Rose. Appreciate that. Yeah, if there's nothing else on that item, zone change 2008, which won't be on your hearing next month, we'll move on. Item number 8, zone change 2009. Zach is managing, and he already has a screen shared here. That's a zone change from G general 10-acre minimum zone to RR5. And this is, as you can see here, literally next door to the Naval Observatory. So Zach, go ahead.
Right, so on this map here, you can see I-40 is here, Naval Observatory is down there, and this is the subject property owner, Craig Hinman. So they are one of the closer private property owners over close to the Naval Observatory. What they want to do is change this general zone property here to RR5 so that they can split that property. There was in the past this situation where we have one RR7 and one RR3 that was also zone changed from G to those zones. And I think the history, and I'll look back at it when I do my staff report, has something to do with these were portions of observatories here, smaller pieces. I think that's it. They currently now have a home on each, and this property owner just wants to have the 2 just over 5-acre pieces there with this zone change and a split that would be subsequent to that. Obviously, the biggest issue here that we're looking at is if we're adding density to the area, what does that do as far as light pollution, and does it affect the mission of the Naval Observatory? The Naval Observatory was in the pre-application meeting, and I made comments about this request at that time. Additionally, for the citizen participation plan, the applicant reached out to the observatory, and obviously we're looking here at, this would be zone 1, the most restrictive lighting zone here. Knowing that, I think it seems like the observatory is fairly well satisfied with that, but I'll personally reach out to the observatory and double check on that. The applicant has given me some sample CCNRs here that they plan to have some CCNRs making it very well known that it is zone 1, and to meet those requirements, and requiring anybody who builds a house in the area to consult with the U.S. Naval Observatory as well as our department prior to installing any lighting. SOT brought up the wildlife issue, so it was something that they did talk to our wildlife planner, Jessica Simmons. They proposed in another portion of the CCNR that any fencing on the property will be wildlife friendly. Landscaping on the property shall be restricted to native plants and to accommodate wildlife, and mitigation measures shall be implemented to control the growth of weeds. Prior to constructing any fencing on the property or establishing landscape, lot owners will meet with Arizona Game and Fish Department for recommendations regarding those items. So they have in here already sort of a plan in their CCNRs to deal with those issues, mitigating those possible impacts. This isn't part of any sort of fire district at the currently right now. They are speaking with Chief Antonides of the Ponderosa Fire District. That's, they're housed in Belmont. And this is an area where the Ponderosa Fire District is willing to accept a subscription to their fire services. Right now, there's just a quick run off of I-40 here. But in the future, it seems, at least in this narrative, that they're looking to annex into the fire district in the future for that. So I do believe that we have the applicant on the line here. If you have any questions for the applicant or myself, we're ready for the commission to ask those questions or to give comments.
Yeah, Zach, this is Saad. I haven't looked at a topo of this, but if in fact it drops down on the east side, we might have an opportunity to ask the applicant to put a building envelope, assuming that they're going to split this in half. They would put the building envelope on the west side of the new lot and try to leave that east area open for wildlife. So that might be a point of negotiation for you and the applicant and Game and Fish.
Understood. Yeah, so the applicant's on the line. I'm sure they're hearing your comments, and I'll talk to them after our meeting tonight. I'll talk to them tomorrow about that sort of thing and make sure that our wildlife planner is part of that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on zone change 2009? Okay, thanks. Unshare the screen. The next item, item 9 on your study session, is 2 cases that will go concurrently. It's AM, that's amendment to, in this case, the Flagstaff Regional Plan as an amendment to the Coconino County Comprehensive Plan. It's AM 2007 and ZC Zone Change 2010. The zone change here would be from AR1 to RM10A. The regional plan amendment proposed would change the designation on this property from rural designation to suburban designation. Bob Short is managing this case. And Bob, go ahead if you got a screen ready to share and discuss.
All right, can everyone see the screen?
No.
Not yet.
Oh, really? Not yet? Oh, well. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, we're seeing your desktop now, Bob. There you go. Seeing the site plan. Go ahead.
All right, good. Hello again, commissioners. This is, I'm actually showing you the landscape plan because it's more illustrative. And I did want to point out, and the applicant just said that this actually will line up. These driveways would line up in the end. But anyway, this is a 93 unit, basically multifamily complex. It's on one parcel, will remain on one parcel. It is 1 and 2 unit cabins, basically single unit and duplex units. The density, as the zoning, as Jess said, is straight RM10A. which allows for 10 units per acre, and that's going from 1 unit per acre to 10 units per acre. So it is quite a jump. The density, however, in this case is a little bit less than 7 units per acre. If you go across the street here to the Pinedale subdivision, those are about 3 units per acre, although they have the same AR zoning. It's been there for a long time, so the zoning was stamped over the existing development quite some time ago. So anyway, you can see that they have this large park here, and this is also serving as detention. They're proposing actual sod in here, so this would be real grass. They are not able to get any utilities from Flagstaff, of course. So this, if you look at number 17 over here, that is their wastewater treatment plant, and they also would have to get on-site water. And then over here, they have a clubhouse. So those are some of the issues we're working out, as we speak. We're finalizing some of the issues about the wastewater. They will be going through ADEQ for that because they want to get us a special type of system installed. So they won't be going through the county, but through ADEQ. You can see a couple of accesses to the forest. The Highland Trail is really close here. I have noticed the National Forest on this already. They have submitted a lighting plan. I've sent that off to Mark Stento to review, and he's already got back comments from them. There is a possibility you may want to approve some lighting that is a little different than would be allowed, just to make the lighting a little bit less here and less intrusive to neighbors. And I think that's about it. Are there any questions from the commission on this?
Yes, Mr. Best. I am very pleased to hear that you and Mark Stento have addressed lighting, because I have already heard from Chris Luganbuehl and comments from the Flagstaff Dark Sky Association, and they expressed some concerns about how much additional light that would be. So you're already looking at it, and I am anxiously looking forward to what you and Mark come up with.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
Thank you,
by the way,
Commissioner Ruggles.
the other thing is that I will be talking to Chris Luganbuehl about this and letting him know where you are at with it, probably Friday. So that's where I am on this right now. And otherwise, I don't have any other questions for you right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruggles. I actually spoke to Chris today about this, and I think the idea may be to, because Flagstaff has a little bit different type of lighting ordinance than the county does, so maybe use some of the standards in there to decrease the lighting here and allow, make that part of the zoning. So I think that's the thought at this point.
I'm going to chime in on that. I think that's an excellent idea and a very good way to approach it, because for something like this, in terms of what the city would require if this were within the city limits, is going to be somewhat more restrictive than what we at the county level would ask for.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruggles.
Very good. Thank you.
Bob, I've got a question about the wastewater treatment plant. I can't say that I've ever seen one for a development this small, but this is a gateway. We don't want to put anything ugly out there. If it's ugly, let's stick it in the back corner. Just a point of negotiation with you and the applicant. And also, I assume the green is lawn, or is that pond area?
This green right here.
Yeah.
That is actual turf. So the dark green is turf. The other parts are a variety of different landscaping. You can see over here. You can see where
I just wondered if that was part of the wastewater treatment.
My understanding is that so this actually serves as a detention facility as well. and my understanding is that it kind of plays together. We're still working out some of the final details. They have to get that done pretty quickly because we do have to show that this is, capable of handling the wastewater. The applicant is here, I believe. I believe if you have any questions for him, his name is Brad Dixon. He's from SWI. So if you have questions about that for him, you can certainly ask him.
If he would like to jump in, go ahead.
Sure. Hi. Thank you, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Again, I'm Brad Dixon. I'm with Shepherd Westminster. We're the civil engineers on the project. The wastewater treatment plant itself will be low-lying, pretty primarily underground. You'll see the top surfaces of the tanks, but so it won't be a building that's up high, and there will also be significant landscaping around that area to help provide some buffer. So we believe that it's not gonna be detracting from the viewscape through this corridor. But we'll also work with staff on what that's going to look like and make sure that they're comfortable with it. In terms of where the wastewater is disposed, it's going to be pumped from the treatment plant up to the western boundary of the property. We had test pits dug back in June and showed that the most favorable soils for disposing of the wastewater through subsurface drip irrigation will be along the western boundary, sort of where the existing ponderosa pine trees are down there on the bottom of the screen. The soils in there are a lot better than they are down lower in the project site toward the highway. So the open area that you see along the highway, that will be for detention, and it will also have recreational amenities, some walking trails, and as Bob said, some turf for people to get out and throw their frisbees or whatever they'd like to do. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, is the assumption there, I would just be concerned that all of the impact is on this parcel, and that if you're doing anything that might impact across the boundary in the national forest, that you're talking to the national forest about it. Are the roots of those trees across the line going to get wet enough that they might die? I don't know, but it's an issue. 100 people living their lives and flushing toilets every day. That's a lot of water.
Okay. Well, we certainly will be working with the National Forest on this. And as Bob said, we're working with ADEQ as well. The reason we're working with ADEQ is that the wastewater is actually going to be treated with UV disinfection. So it goes above and beyond the standard wastewater treatment. And the county's general permit does not cover UV disinfection. So we are going to be working with ADQ, as well as happy to be working closely with the Forest Service.
Thank you very much. Also, a different issue. I have a feeling we might hear from Mountain Dale about traffic on this one. What is the traffic plan?
Yes, we've submitted traffic calculations to ADOT, and they show that on the peak PM hour, so the peak evening hour, this site will generate 49 trips. That's both in and out from the site. And so we've submitted an encroachment permit application to ADOT, which starts the review process with them. And we'll be working closely with them to determine appropriate mitigation measures and following their guidance for what needs to be done at this intersection. We also, as you see toward the north end of the project, there's a secondary access that will be a gated emergency access. So during emergency conditions, like a wildfire or flood or what have you, that gate will be opened to allow an additional ingress point and help to reduce any conflict at the driveway with Pinedale.
So that north road is a dead end? Normally it's gated?
Normally, yes, normally that will be the case. It'll be gated and just used for emergency access. Of course, first responders will have keys to it. We will also have on-site property management, and they will have keys to that gate as well.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Commissioners, I saw that Commissioner Walters had risen his hand. So Commissioner Walters, if you had any questions on this as well.
I do have a couple of observations here. I've noticed over the years that most of this entire meadow is underwater when it's wet. With all the added non-permeable surfaces here, that creates quite a concern. I'd like to know how they're going to address that without this being a swamp. And secondly, back to the road issue here on Highway 89A, I think that they need turn lanes here. They need acceleration and deceleration. When you're coming from the Forest Highlands side, coming over that hill, most of the cars are just popping over that hill right at the edge of this property, and people will be pulling out of here going into town. It's just not a safe situation the way this is drawn.
Brad, feel free to respond there.
Okay. To your first question regarding the drainage, yes, we will be, of course, managing our stormwater flows from the site. There's an existing culvert under Highway 89A that discharges from the site into Pinedale, and we'll be providing this 2-acre detention basin just upstream of that culvert. We've designed it with the additional impervious area included in the calculations to limit the peak discharge rates from the 2, 10, and 100-year storms to no greater than existing conditions. We are also in discussions with the county engineering department about the idea of providing some additional retention, kind of like the LID model that the city of Flagstaff uses, where you have some retention that holds the water back a little bit longer, so that we wouldn't be increasing the total runoff volume during the storm event. And so that's something that we've been in discussion with the county engineering department on, and we'll continue to work with them on that. In terms of your second comment, yeah, we do recognize that there is significant traffic along 89A here. We've heard from residents in Pinedale that people on southbound Highway 89 will actually use the left turn lane into Pinedale as a passing lane. So we do recognize that traffic will be a significant consideration here. And like I said, we'll be working closely with ADOT to make sure that we've addressed those concerns.
With the number of units that you have in here, the possibility of them having yards like most normal people want, I think you're going to be doing a lot of water detention in yards, and I see it as a problem.
Well, these will be long-term rental units. They're not going to be for sale units, and the landscaping will all be managed by the property owner through the property management that again will be on site. And so it'll have professional landscape management and maintenance. And so we hope that will help alleviate some of those concerns.
Are these site-built units?
Yes.
That's all the questions that I have.
Okay.
I'll
Thanks, thank you.
throw out there go ahead.
I do see that Commissioner Williams had raised her hand. So I see that Commissioner Best is trying to speak, and I know Commissioner Williams wants to speak, and we're at 5:19 and we need to wrap up. If we're at 5:20, we need to wrap up a study session within 10 minutes to kick off your public hearing. Commissioner Williams, possibly if you still have a comment, go ahead, and then followed by Commissioner Best. And just please be mindful that we're trying to wrap up your study session here, and we still have one item to talk about.
Okay, I just had a question. I think this slide is going to address my first one, but my other question was, do you have an overall number of bedrooms for the whole unit?
Yes, we will be having 60 one-bedroom units and 30 two-bedroom units. So that's 120 plus three-bedroom units for a total of 129.
Okay, thank you.
A very quick comment. Those, what I assume are carports, are a great opportunity for solar. So I'll just throw that out there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, anyone else have questions of staff or the applicant on this study session item? Thanks. We have one case left. Zach's managing it. It is item 10 on your study session agenda, CUP 2038. This is a conditional use permit for another assisted living facility, and this one is actually in Pinedale, so very near where we were just talking about. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay, sorry, excuse me for just a minute. I'm just trying to pull up the PowerPoint here. Okay. So this one, we're kind of in the same neighborhood. This is the project where the project was that you were just looking at. We're over here, 89A is here, I-17 is here. The subject property is here. And here's sort of a floor plan. So what it is an existing 5-bedroom, 4-bath house where the applicant wants to do an assisted living facility requiring the conditional use permit. They're asking for no more than 10 seniors at a time. That's I guess they're looking at infirm seniors. And again, I think that's some sort of threshold with building and or state licensing. And I'll just look into that and make sure that those requirements are met and that it is explained in the staff report what those sort of requirements are. But seeing the kind of lack of time that we have here, I won't spend too much time on it. I'll make sure to look at, here's the site plan as well. So here's the house, and here's, I think, where they get access to the north. I will make sure to look into the same ideas as far as this is a private easement that they're using. So look into snow removal and maintenance of that, considering that it's a little bit more intensive use than just your average single family residential situation. I'll also look into the fire department situation. That might be the closest, might be Highlands Fire Department. And I don't know whether or not they'll be able to subscribe or get into the district there, but I will look into those issues and make sure they're taken care of. And if the commission has any other comments or things for me to look into, I'm happy to look into that.
Any questions from the commissioners on this assisted living facility? Okay, hearing none, you can unshare your screen. Commissioners, again, this is Jess McNeely with planning staff, and we've gone through your 10 items. We have a few more items we'd like to discuss quickly on your study session agenda. Before we go further into your study session agenda, I would like to point out that if you counted up there, we had 10 items, one of which we already know is deferred, the zone change down in Blue Ridge. That leaves 9. We all know that we're getting a lot of citizen input on the zone change near Pinedale. So we can anticipate that item will take a while on your public hearing agenda next month. We will let you know that staff will be contacting the applicants, all of these applicants, and if there were any applicants of these 9 items who wished to shoot by their choice, defer to the following month or some subsequent month, we will see if we can lighten the load a little bit for your agenda. The other option we have out there that would take some discussion with the commissioners, if that doesn't work, we would have the option of splitting this into 2 hearings, possibly 2 hearings. We always go the last Wednesday of the month. Maybe we could have the last Wednesday of the month and then another hearing the following evening, if that would make it more effective. So that's something that we could certainly discuss. Any comments from the commission, particularly Chair Ontiveros, on that concept before I run through a couple other things here?
Mr. McNeely, I have no problem. If it looks like you're going to have a better take of how this is going to play out. So I have no problem splitting it into 2 meetings. And when you feel you've got a pretty good take on it, why don't you get in touch with me and discuss it further? But personally, I, as a commissioner, do not have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ontiveros. Any comments from the other commissioners on those concepts, deferrals or possible splitting the hearing into 2 hearings? All right, thank you. The next item I would point out, I'm sorry, did I step over someone there?
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough. I think that we ought to, once you figure out what you're going to have for a workload and what we're going to do, you can email out and try to get some other ideas on, some ideas of which way we want to go.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Walters. And we will be moving on that pretty quick. So we would hope to be getting back in touch with you, if not by the end of this week, first thing next week, so that staff knows what's necessary to adjust.
Jess, I have
yeah.
one thing. I might be leaving town the day after on Thursday. So if we split it Wednesday and Thursday, I don't know if I might not be here on Thursday, but we can just see how it shapes out.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. I will point out to everyone on this meeting, especially the commissioners, as we would anticipate that the meeting next month will be held online on this same platform, and you could do this meeting from anywhere you've got a good internet connection. I've done several of these meetings on my iPhone. It works okay. Screen's not as big. But yeah, there's no requirement that you be within Coconino County limits in order to participate in the hearing. So certainly something to keep in mind.
I would just like to say hi from Santa Fe, and you might do a doodle poll. That's what people do.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for that recommendation, Commissioner Best. Doodle poll might be a way to quickly and easily get some answers on that. Thank you. Okay, if nothing else, I see we're at 5:27. I'll let you know that we do have one case eligible for administrative renewal. Any comments from any of the commissioners on that one CUP? It's an RV park. Let's see. This is the Rocking RV Park, and this one's in Forest Lakes. That is up for administrative renewal. Any questions on that administrative renewal of a conditional use permit? All right, thanks. As a department update, as we just said, we can anticipate that your meeting in August, consistent with county guidance, will continue to be online, and we'll continue to stay in touch with all of you, and we can always use email as the county moves through its step process of what we consider reopening. On the long range front, the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood area plan is moving along, working on vision at this point. Likewise, the renewable energy ordinance is also moving along. Questions on either of those can be directed to Melissa. Within the department, I'd like to congratulate Adam Hicks as being selected for our new chief building official. And since this agenda went out, I would like to let you know that Brad Jones, one of our staff internal, who was a building inspector, has been hired as the new compliance manager. So we're very happy to have those positions filled. And as many of you know, our workload is significant right now, so we really appreciate being able to fill those positions with great people. For the board of supervisors, everything that you heard in June will go to the board on August 11th. Moving on with that, the Watson zone change that many of you remember that was in Timberline was recommended for denial by you all. Was withdrawn, so that will not go to the Board of Supervisors. And FYI, the board will hold a work session on August 25th on the renewable energy ordinance. Any questions on any of that? If not, that is all of our agenda for the study session.
Okay, I think you've got perfect timing there, Mr. McNeely, because my clock shows 5:30 straight up. So why don't we go ahead and move directly into the public hearing?
Thank you, Chair Ontiveros. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the July meeting of the Coconino County Planning and Zoning Commission. Cases will be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. Following the staff presentation, the applicant and/or the applicant's representative may address the commission. As an applicant, if you agree with the staff report and have no additional information, please feel free to keep your comments brief. Any relevant comments are welcome. Following the applicant's presentation, I will make a call to the public. If you wish to address this case, please state your name and address. We ask that your comments be limited to 5 minutes or less. Comments must be relevant to the case. Please address all comments to the commission. No matter how strongly you may feel about the case, all comments must be polite and courteous. After all interested public has spoken, the public comment portion will be closed. Discussion will then take place amongst commissioners. No additional public comments may be made unless requested by a commissioner. Decisions of this commission regarding any zone change or preliminary subdivision plat approval are referred to the Board of Supervisors as a recommendation. All other cases are binding unless appealed to the Board of Supervisors. If you disagree with the commission's decision, you have 15 days to appeal. Please contact staff at the Community Development Office for appeal procedures. Due to the virtual nature of this meeting, I will be doing a roll call vote of the commissioners to ensure accuracy for the record. Should anyone wish to address the commission this evening for call to the public for items not on the agenda, we ask that your comments be limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. We always welcome public comment and participation. However, if the comments are for a case that is scheduled for public hearing for next month's agenda, I would like to advise that the commission cannot consider any such comments at this time. Thank you for joining us this evening and actively participating in our county planning. And with that, the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. McNeely, would you please lead?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Ontiveros. I believe it should be up on your screen, a American flag. So we'll initiate the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty,
justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McNeely. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of the June 24th, 2020 minutes. So if all of the commissioners approve it, I will accept a motion in a second and we will go to a vote.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the June 24th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Clifford and a second by Commissioner Walters for approval of the June 24th, 2020 minutes. I'm going to roll call. All of those in favor simply say aye. Commissioner Clifford?
Aye.
Commissioner Walters?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles? Commissioner Ruggles, are you still with us? Okay. Commissioner Ruggles is not with us. It does not appear. Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
And Commissioner Ontiveros, I also vote aye. The motion passes unanimously. The first item on the agenda, or excuse me, the first item under public hearings is case number CUP 20-031.
Thank you, Chair Ontiveros. CUP 2031, conditional use permit for an accessory structure over 3,000 square feet. This is in the Fort Valley area, and Bob Short is managing this case. I see he's already sharing his screen. So Bob, go ahead. And Chair Ontiveros and anyone else listening, we've tried to help mute some of the phone numbers that have called in. If there are any members of the public or commissioners who've called in on a phone and your phone is muted, you will need to hit *6 on your phone, and that will unmute you to be able to speak. Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. This case is the Carroll accessory structure zone change. In this case, the property owner and applicant are Stephen and Diana Carroll of Flagstaff, Arizona. Their representative is the law offices of Tony Cullum, Flagstaff, Arizona. The zoning in this case is RR10, rural residential 10-acre minimum parcel size. And the parcel size in this case is 15 acres. Is everyone able to hear me?
We hear you, Bob.
Okay, thank you. The request is a conditional use permit for an accessory structure over 3,000 square feet. In this case, it is 6,400 square feet structure. This is a vicinity map showing the subject property and the general area of the subject property. As you can see, this is Fort Valley, Baderville. So the subject property is way out here on the edge, and it's surrounded on two sides by national forest land. So it's way out there away from everything else in Fort Valley. And this is an aerial photo of the subject property. Again, it's surrounded on two sides by national forest. This is a roadway via easement that comes up to the property. There are a lot of private streets on the way out to this property. It was kind of difficult to find because none of them are marked. If you look to the south, these two parcels to the south are also owned by the applicant. And I should point out there's quite a bit of slope on the property. Actually, up here, this is the area where the development is proposed, the house and the accessory building. That has now been cleared. It's pretty flat up here, but the roadway down is right up against a canyon, so it's pretty steep throughout the rest of this property. And this is the proposed accessory building. The design of it is described as mountain rustic and American craftsman style. And that is, it's designed to match the future home on the property. It would be constructed of stone, masonry, and concrete with wood fiber cement siding. The colors include malpai and dark wood with the exterior painted in earth tone colors. And I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute, some renderings. The purpose of this building is to store the applicant's collection of cars, trucks, recreational vehicles, and construction equipment. The applicant did own a construction company, and he has sold that. I believe that was in Idaho. I'm not positive, but and now he still has some of that equipment and wants a place to store it. This is a 6,400 square foot building, so it's pretty large and capable of doing that. This is a site plan showing the proposal. You can see the road that the applicant has built himself or with help from other people. He has certainly worked on that himself. He was driving a bulldozer when I was out there on the site visit. This goes up along this canyon and then wraps around to where the accessory structure is proposed right here. I believe it is about 64 by 100 feet. And then this is his house and the rest of the development. This is the floor plan for the building. There's an enclosed area on the inside, and on each side there's a covered patio, quite a large covered patio with one bump out right here. But so a lot of the building is on the outside, not on the inside. These are building elevations. You can see the front with the garage doors and the one side, the left side. And this is how the back would look and the right elevation. And these are the 3D renderings of the structure. Again, you can see a really nice design. It has a cupola. I understood there were 2 cupolas, but I only see one in this case. But you can see there's a nice, there's some nice patio area on the side. And this is the back. This is the other side. You can see the bump out back here. Now, this is the site for the building would be developed, and this is looking back, I believe it's north toward the roadway. Back in the back here, you can see where the roadway goes back down the hill, and this is, you can see the stakes where the building will go. And this is the roadway going back down the hill toward Fort Valley, Baderville. You can see there's a canyon drop off right here, pretty steep property. So the road goes back down. And if you look back in this middle area right here, you can see the housing in Baderville. So that this is so far up on the hill that as nice as it looks, no one else will see it unless you're actually on this site where the property is. In terms of citizen participation, neighborhood meeting was held on January 25th, 2020. And by the way, I believe I had that date wrong in the staff report. 2 neighbors attended the meeting and both supported the proposal. We also received 12 other letters from neighbors who supported the proposal, and also a letter from the Summit Fire District indicating that the plan for the building was approved by them. They thought it would work fine. We did receive one letter from a neighbor that was opposed to the project, and this is related to a possible incursion outside of an access easement when the applicant was building a road across the neighbor's property. So the neighbor, this is the neighbor to the east, I believe. So directly to the east, there's an access easement that goes up to this property, and that neighbor, the applicant did receive an engineering permit, a grading permit to complete the road. We have talked to the county attorney about this, discussed it with staff, and staff does not feel like that. We feel like this is a private matter and not related to this conditional use permit. When the applicant, after approval of this conditional use permit, the applicant still has to come to the county and get a building permit for that building. And at that point, staff would make sure any kind of access issues were worked out. So we do not see this as something that's related to this conditional use permit. And these are the findings of fact for a conditional use permit. Staff has addressed those in the staff report as always. If the commission has any questions, we can discuss those. And with that, staff recommends approval of CUP 20-031 with the one recommended condition. And with that, I'll take any questions from the commission.
Okay, Mr. Short, I am not seeing any questions from the commissioners. So would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to address the commission on this case, please?
This is Tony Cullum. Can you hear me?
We can, Tony. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead.
Thank you.
Address, yeah.
Tony Cullum, 14 East Dale here in Flagstaff. I have to my right, if you can see me, I have the applicants. I have Steve to my right and Diana to his right. They are longtime residents of Idaho. They have decided to come down here. He had numerous construction companies up there. and anyway, he's decided to come down here, and he has purchased basically 40 acres, 15 of which is the parcel this property is being built on. But the 40 acres is two-sided to the forest. Basically, when you get up to this really pretty place on the side of the hill, no one can see you from any other site. He's worked well with the neighbors. We have in our office a number of neighbors who want to speak. So when we finish, we'd like to turn this over to the conference room camera, and then there'll also be some that call in. We'd like to thank Bob Short. He did a wonderful job. We fully agree with his entire staff report, and we agree with the one condition. The short version is what we're doing. We have 40 acres, and environmentally, we're putting one garage and one house on 40 acres. So that is what they're doing, and those are the plans. The site, as you saw, was located on a plateau. Up on the hill, the trees obscure the proposed structure from any other view. The RR zoning is the only zoning that still requires a conditional use permit for accessory structures larger than 3,000. The AR zoning and the G zoning have both been changed. And we even talked to Steve about putting a 3,000 square foot building, 10 feet more, and then another 3,000 square foot building. But he just wants to build two really nice buildings up there. He wants to build his dream home, and basically that's what we're dealing with here. As Bob told you, this is the mountain rustic craftsman style. He has hired Mike Furr, a local builder who's been building in the community forever. We've met with all the neighbors, and all except one have totally supported the project. We've met with Ms. Byrne of the Summit Fire Department, and she has reviewed the entire plans, walked the project, and totally supports the project. She puts in a report. She's in favor of the fire-wise practices he's using, the access, non-combustible materials, tree thinning, and etc. The county has given us a grading permit, and they do have legal access. We do have also available our engineer, Ian Braun, and he is available to answer any questions that you may have. The only question that was brought up was the location of the road as it went up the hill, and this location has been in the same location for many, many, many years, probably 30, 50 or better. And as it goes up the hill, there's a 30-foot easement. Evidently, the road was not put in the 30-foot easement at the original road that went up the hill. So when Steve improved it, there are still a few places where it's not totally in the easement. We have had that surveyed, we've had it appraised, and we are willing to certainly buy that from that neighbor at full fair market value. I think it appraised at $55,000 an acre. That's less than half an acre, so we will take care of that. That will not be a problem. And the county went ahead and issued us a grading permit. We'll be building the road to county standards, and we'll be providing safe access. And of course, the road, there are portions of the road already outside the easement, and that has been for quite some time. There was also some discussion of an altered drainage course. All that is basically the drainage ditches on the property. We have the engineer, Ian Braun, who who is here to testify if anybody needs it, that there is no altered drainage whatsoever. We also have the support in writing of 11 neighbors, and they have given written letters, and I think you've got copies of them. We even had the Forest Service out to make sure we covered every base. And they took a look at it and expressed no concerns whatsoever with the project, even though two sides are forest. Summit Fire Department, we have a letter from them. Basically one house and one garage on 40 acres, environmentally sensitive, meets the goals of the Fort Valley Area Plan, Coconino County Comprehensive Plan. We agree with Bob Short. I think everything's wonderful, and we will reserve rebuttal. And Madam Chairman, if it's acceptable to the commission, or whenever it is acceptable to the commission, our IT&T person at the office, Nick Kraft, is in our conference room, and there are a number of neighbors who would like to speak to the commission from that location when the chairperson decides it's time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cullen. Before we move to public comment, I'm going to ask if any of the commissioners have any questions for you or the applicant. Okay, and I'm not seeing any. Mr. McNeely, could I please ask you a question? Is Commissioner Ruggles still with us this evening?
I'm here, Madam Chair. I am scrolling through and I am not seeing Commissioner Ruggles back on the guests. I know he was in the meeting. I can certainly email Commissioner Ruggles separately.
Okay, the reason that I asked you that question is I don't know how your screen looks, but I can scroll all the way to the bottom of my screen and I do not see his name. Right. And all I get is it says 6 more. So I didn't know if he was one of the 6 or not. Another reason I asked is it is not like Commissioner Ruggles to start and then just seemingly just disappear on us. So I just wanted to know if you knew something other than what I know.
So, Madam Chair, the other thing I do know, the other possibility is we see several phone numbers that are logged into the meeting, several of which are muted. So if Commissioner Ruggles is on one of those phone numbers, he can unmute himself by hitting *6 on that phone and join us that way. So that may, the phone numbers just show up as a number, not as a name. So okay. That's how we don't know who was on those phone numbers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McNeely. I just wanted to know what commissioners we had joining us right now, and it doesn't appear that we've got Commissioner Ruggles anymore. Okay, that said, I don't see that there are any questions for the applicant or Mr. Cullum at this time. So I am going to reach out and ask for public participation. So Mr. Cullum, the individuals that you have in your office that would like to address the commission, if you could please have them state their name and address for the record and then provide their comments, we'll move forward like that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The logon is under Nick Kraft, and he is logging on right now. And we'll mute mine, and they will pick up. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kraft, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
I don't know how many people you have in the conference room with you, and we'll have to take it one at a time. But why don't you guys go ahead and start working through in order. Again, state name and address for the record, and then the comments, please.
Okay.
My name is Nicole Sanders, and I live at 12555 John Wayne Boulevard in Flagstaff, and I've lived in Flagstaff for nearly 35 years. I work for Mike Fur Construction, the contractor for this project, and having met the Carrolls, I believe that they are a great addition to the community, and it's my opinion that this project will blend well with the surrounding environment.
Thank you. Mr. Kraft, do you have anyone else there?
Yes, we have about 8 people. They're going to identify themselves and speak.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ray Flagg, 13356 Kings Gear and Parks. I also work for Mike Fur, and I've been on at the site where the building is going to be put up, if you guys approve it. And I was able to walk the council up there and can't see any homes from up there at all. And it's one of the nicest cleared sites I've ever been on before. So I think it would be a really great spot to build, and it will not interfere with any of the neighbors in the surrounding area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Name and address.
So, hi, my name is Brent Erdman, and my address is 6887 North Elk Tank Road. And can we do it together, I guess?
Yeah, we
Okay.
we
live at the same residence. Yes.
Brent is my husband, and same address. My name is Tom Field.
And we are probably the closest to the Carrolls in terms of proximity and where they're building. We've gotten to know them over the last, couple of years, I guess, here, and they're amazing people. They've been extraordinarily good about the neighborhood. Steve helps neighbors take care of their driveways. I mean, they're really involved and caring people. And I mean, they've been on the most strongest of terms. When they purchased the 40 acres up the hill from us, we were thrilled because of the fact that at that point, we were going to have a reduction of possible traffic because it could have otherwise been a number of different lots. So, I mean, they've got one home, one garage going on one 40-acre parcel. It's a great way to reduce the amount of people that go through there. They have done nothing but fantastic work around the area, and we are actually very, very, very fond of them. In addition to that, I mean, there are, the entire neighborhood is very, very close except for one group. It's unfortunate. They don't like to, shall we say, play well with others. They're probably the one negative detractor, I guess, that them you might hear from on this. They have in violation of CC&Rs, they have a Airbnb, and they're running a business out there. But other than that, everybody is just fantastic, and the Carrolls are going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I the same here. They've been great neighbors. They've already done a lot of stuff in the neighborhood that have been made great changes. And all the neighbors, with the exception of one that we know have been friends with them, we're so happy they're there. And we couldn't pick better neighbors. And again, we are confused by the opposition, but we support this 100%. They've been honest from the very beginning of what they were going to do before they did it, and transparent, and we really appreciate them.
Okay, thank you for those comments. And just for the record, could you please state your name and address, please?
Yeah, Thomas Field, 6887 North Elk Tank Road, Flagstaff, Arizona, 86001.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, we're ready for the next individual.
Hi, my name is Steven Randolph. I live at 9595 West Antoinette Way. I've been there 16 years, and I've been around Flagstaff for over 30. I have very intimate knowledge and relationship with that property that they're on. We've always called it Little Wing. My house has a direct view of it. I probably have the singular best view of Little Wing Mountain where they are building. And I have no concerns with their building being intrusive or not blending with the environment, given the architecture and color. But I really don't even feel like I would be able to see it at that size from where I'm at. given that the trees are probably in the neighborhood of 50 to 80 feet tall. The Carrolls are amazing people. I've known them since they bought the property, and Steve and Dan have done nothing but help us out. They have a very strong sense of community. Steve has helped me with the driveway, get out my house, with some of his equipment that he needs to store in the large shop. So I'm 100% for that. And to be honest, I'm a bit appalled that somebody that doesn't live in the neighborhood and runs an Airbnb and a VRBO out of their building and it's never there, and that they're constantly intrusive to the neighborhood with lights on all the time, partying, up to 10 vehicles at a time at their house, has an issue with what the Carrolls are doing. So I'm in favor of the Carrolls moving on with their project.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Michelle Boyer, and my address is 9595 West Antoinette Way, Flagstaff. I'm in favor of this conditional use permit. I think the Carrolls have been an excellent addition to our community. They came and introduced themselves to us, and just, never once were we out asking for any help, and they just offered it unconditionally. And so we really feel that they will be an asset and value to our neighborhood and our community. And we are just really happy. And I agree with obviously everything that everyone's saying is that's going to be a beautiful structure. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it unless we're actually up there. But we're very excited for them, and we hope you will approve this permit for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Furr. I've been in Flagstaff most of my life and NAU alumni and very familiar with the neighborhood. I live right nearby off of Hidden Hollow Road. My address is 3485 Hidden Hollow Road. And I met the Carrolls a while back when they were starting this project. So as the general contractor, they have done everything that has been required and beyond. And it's going to be a beautiful home. And you really cannot see the home site from anywhere else unless you're in an airplane. So I'm in favor of the approval of the CUP, and here to answer any questions if needed. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Furr.
My name is Russ Hamilton, and I live at 3788 North Zurich in Flagstaff. I've been here most of my life. And I've done some work for the Carrolls and got to know them very well. They're the most wonderful people. I would be very pleased to have them as neighbors myself. And the project that they are looking at building here is just a beautiful project. And everybody else has said nobody's going to be able to see it unless they drive up there. But if they do, they'll see a real nice buildings. It's going to be beautiful when it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You need to jump in.
All right, that's everybody that's here at our office. There's probably some other neighbors calling in or videoing in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eklund, and I'll make a call to the public for the individuals that are not in your office.
All right, thank you, Chairman Ontiveros.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hello there.
Thanks for coming in. We do appreciate it.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to address the commission on this case this evening?
Yes, I would. Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, hold on, we're gonna have to go one at a time here. Is there a Ron Hubert?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Hubert, or do you wish to address the commission on this case?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record and then give your comments.
My name is Ron Hubert and my address is 6800 Virgil Way.
I wanted to second all of the things that other folks have said. I agree completely with them and their support of the Carols. We support them as well. We are living at the bottom of the hill. We're probably the closest ones to them. And we can't see the area where that building would be at all. We don't think it would be any problem at all for us to be there. And I would certainly like to do anything I could to support the Carols program. They've been a great neighbor and have helped out a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hubert. Is there anybody else that wishes? Let's see, I'm seeing a Stephen Saunders. Do we
Hi
have?
there, I am Stephen Saunders.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saunders. Please go ahead. You stated your name, state your address, and then give your comments.
I live at 9105 West Antoinette Way, about a mile away from the Carols parcel. And my wife and I also own a 10-acre parcel that is directly to the east of the Carols. I can give you that parcel number if you need it. There are two that are to the east. Mine is the north parcel.
Okay, it's not necessary for the comments right now.
Okay, I would just like to echo what everyone else is saying about the Carols. Even before they purchased, they reached out to me. And even though I don't have a residence or a structure on that 10-acre parcel, they wanted to meet and go over easements and the history because I purchased that parcel in '99. And like I said, I do live about a mile away, and I've looked from my house on Antoinette Way with binoculars from my front yard area, and I can't see any construction equipment as they've been up there, and I doubt that I would see the structure. And so I fully support the CUP, and I will be happy someday if I build over there to have them as direct neighbors.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Is there anyone, could I ask Mr. Hubert and Mr. Saunders to please mute? Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Hubert, could you?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me? Could you please mute right now so we don't have excess background noise? Thank you so much. Okay, I see a Suzanne Romero and Faith Walker. Do you wish to address the commission on this case?
Yes, please.
Okay, would each of you, if both of you would like to speak, you're more than welcome to. Please just state your name and address for the record and give relevant comments.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name's Suzanne Romero, and I live at 9945 Red Tail Road. And that's the property that's down the hill, just actually adjacent to Ron Hubert's and the Carols. And I've lived in Flagstaff since 1975, and I built my home here in Baderville that's on this 160-acre parcel back in 1994 and was the first home out here in this meadow. I fully support the Carols conditional use permit. They've been great addition to the community out here, and the buildings that they've showed us that they want to build, I think are going to be beautiful and fit in with the natural forest surroundings in this area.
Yeah, and I'm Faith Walker, and I live at 9945 Red Tail Road. I've lived in Flagstaff for about 32 years and here at this address for 10. The Carols are lovely people, as you've heard from a lot of neighbors. They've been really straightforward about what they want to do. We fully support them, and we hope that you grant them this conditional use permit. We like to use scopes to spot wildlife, and we can use that scope and look up at the hill at Little Wing, and we can't see anything, so we're not concerned about any kind of visual issues with this building. Thanks.
Okay, thank you both for your comments tonight. And I would just like to ask you, thank you for muting. I appreciate that. Is there anybody else that would like to address the commission on this case tonight?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, it looks like Paul Conant. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Please state your name and address for the record and give your comments.
Yeah, yes, Madam Chair. I would like to. I'm speaking in opposition. I did hear, I thought, perhaps someone else chime in. They may be on a telephone connection. And I was hoping to have anybody who was speaking in support of the application to go first. I am speaking in opposition, and so I'm just wondering if that other person whose voice I heard momentarily was planning on speaking in support.
Okay.
I'm in support, yes.
Okay, could you please state your name?
Yep, my name is Chris Huntley. I live at 6896 North Keenan Way, Flagstaff 86001. That's in Baderville. And I also own the parcel 9301 Redtail between Suzanne and Ron and across the street from the Carrolls. My wife and I have 2 kids, and the Carrolls invite us over to go play around their pond. The kids like to go down there and get real muddy and then, just have a good time. They've been super fun to get to know, even though we haven't been able to build over there yet. We still like to go hang out, sled in the winter, play in the woods in the summer, and get to meet everybody out there. And everybody's just, real great, and the Carrolls fit in perfectly. I think the building they're going to make looks beautiful based on the plans. And honestly, even if it was all flat and I was going to see that building every day, I'd be happy with it. The fact that it's at the top of the hill and I won't see it makes no difference to me. I think they're a great addition, and I'd really like to see this approved.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. I'm just going to ask if there are any other members of the public that would like to speak to this commission in favor of this project. Okay.
I would. My name is Todd Owen.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please go ahead and state your address.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Todd Owen, 1350 North Wakanda here in Flagstaff. I've known the Carrolls ever since they moved here, and you can't ask for nicer people. They're good friends with me and my wife. They've had us over for dinner. I'm amazed that someone actually does not want them building their dream home up on that hill. I would only dream of having neighbors like that. I wish I did, but I can't. So I totally support them, and I wish it goes through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this project this evening? Okay, seeing none, why don't we go ahead and go back to Mr. Conant? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are. That is a rare thing, and you are pronouncing it exactly correctly.
Okay, well, go ahead. We know your name. Why don't you go ahead and state your address and then your comments, please.
Yes, my name is Paul Conant. I'm a lawyer for Jeffrey and Elizabeth McKenna. Their address is 7113 North Elk Tank Road, Flagstaff, Arizona, 86001. And I am speaking in opposition on their behalf today. Let me be clear about what the basis for the opposition is. The opposition is not to prevent the Carrolls from building a dream home. In fact, as far as my clients, the McKennas, are concerned, the Carrolls should build a dream home on their property at the top of Little Wing Mountain. The problem that we have with this particular CUP application is that it doesn't have anything to do with the dream home. It has to do with an accessory structure that would be more than twice the size, more than twice the normal size that is permitted by the county. I don't disagree that because of the placement that you wouldn't be able to see it. The placement is not the issue. Rather, it's the size and the contemplated use of the accessory structure, and it's tied to problems that have been admitted with respect to the roadway. And the key reason why our objection to the CUP application for the more than double the normal size accessory structure relates to the road is that, as you have seen, I'm sure from the packet of materials that you were presented by the applicant, the purpose for that accessory structure, that oversized accessory structure, is to house heavy equipment. My friend Tony Cullum shared with you the fact that Mr. Carroll has been in the construction business, and this is in the materials that you were provided as well by the applicant in support of their request. And the plan is to store large trailers and heavy equipment, long wheel-based vehicles, and I'll get to that in just a moment, why that's important here, long wheel-based vehicles and large vehicles in this 6,400 contemplated accessory structure. Now, there is an historical access road that goes all the way to the top of Little Wing Mountain. And that road is in large part probably based on research that I've done, speaking with a local Fort Valley resident and historian, that road is probably about a 100-year-old logging road that was originally constructed to allow the logging teams to bring logs down from the top of Little Wing Mountain. And it is a switchback road, in part because of the terrain that Mr. Short pointed out to you. It's very steep terrain in certain parts of Little Wing Mountain. The road in particular that's relevant to what we're talking about here has two very tight switchbacks, two hairpin turns, two very tight elbows, a lower hairpin turn and an upper hairpin turn. My clients have owned their property for over 20 years. They built a home on it. They raised their family there. Their children are in college. And they sold the northern half of their initial 20 acres, which is just raw land, to Stephen Saunders, one of the fellows who spoke earlier. And my clients have retained this southern portion of that northwest corner of the property that was originally platted by Frank and Marilyn Hanna some 25 years ago. My clients purchased their property in that area and made a decision to keep the southern 10 acres of the 20 acres that they initially purchased, and decided to sell the northern half of that 20 acres to Mr. Saunders, in part because they really loved the 10-acre parcel that they ended up building their home on. You've heard from several people that the topography of the area is very, very steep in certain areas. And my clients, the McKennas, have a home that's built in the lower reaches of their property, on the eastern portion of their property, in a meadow area, a beautiful meadow area. On the western portion of their property, it's alpine and wooded. And it's a very different piece of property. And you were given a view in Mr. Short's presentation where he said, here's a view down into Baderville, and you can see the homes in the distance. That is the view from the road that my clients use to get to the upper reaches of their property. I can't tell from the photo that Mr. Short showed you whether that photo was taken on the upper reaches of my client's property or whether it was taken on the Carroll's property, but I will tell you that the view is basically the same. This approximately 100-year-old easement road that makes its way from the lower reaches of my client's property to the upper reaches of my client's property is a deeded easement. It's confirmed by a deeded easement. And my clients have used that road to go from the lower reaches of their property, the meadow area, to the upper reaches of their property, the alpine area, and have enjoyed that aspect of their private property rights ever since they purchased in Elk Tank area. That road is an essential part of their use and enjoyment of their own property. To go from the lower reaches of their property, one would travel in a slightly southwesterly direction onto the property that's owned by Mr. Erdman and Mr. Fields, two gentlemen that spoke together to you earlier. And then it would traverse in a further southwesterly direction. That easement road that my clients use would traverse across the Erdman and Fields property onto property owned by Ingrid Coffin. Ingrid Coffin is a resident of California. Her husband just recently died, and she has no development on that property. But our easement rights go across Ms. Coffin's property to what I'll call the lower switchback or the lower elbow. And then as switchbacks do, it curves back up sharply to the northeast and heads in a northeasterly direction, also across Ms. Coffin's property, and then eventually back onto the upper reaches of the McKenna's property. So hopefully my description has given you at least a visual picture. I don't have Mr. Short's diagram up anymore, but if you have it in your materials, you can look at the roads that are the roads that are shown in his materials, and you can follow along in those materials, and you can see how this road goes from the McKenna's property across the Erdman and Fields property, across the Coffin property, and then back up to the upper reaches of the McKenna's property. And then from there, once the road reaches the upper areas of the McKenna's property, it then travels westward to the northern piece of property that the Carrolls purchased. Now, the Carrolls need to use that road or make a new one, but the Carrolls need to use that road, that's the only existing road, to get to their property at the top of the hill where they want to build their dream home. And the big distinguishing factor between my clients and their experience with the Carrolls and everyone who has spoken in favor of the CUP application is that the Carrolls have not driven a bulldozer over and trespassed with that bulldozer or other heavy equipment on their private property. But that is exactly what has happened with my clients in two different ways. First, if you have had a chance to fully review the packet, you will have seen the objection materials that I sent to Mr. Short, and it appears on page 58 and 59 of your package. And if you were to look at page 59 of your package, you would see a photograph there. And there is a piece of heavy equipment there, a tracked vehicle with a blade on it and an arm. And you will see just, that's in the background, and in the foreground, you will see a large pile of fill material and boulders. And just to the left of that for scale, you can see a fully extended camera tripod with a hat on. And that boulder wall and fill is what the Carrolls put onto that road, the easement road, that my clients have used for over 23 years to get from the lower reaches of their property to the upper reaches of their property. And as you can see, that is fully occluded.
Mr. Conant, this is Chairwoman Ontiveros. I'm going to go ahead. I hate to interrupt. I've been very lenient with the time because I limit it to 5 minutes, and you've gone for 10, more than double. But the point that I'm making here is that you have watched staff's presentation, and you saw that this commission has had legal counsel that says the issue that you're talking about is nothing that this commission has the right to review or make a determination on. So the easement issue is something that's going to have to be figured out by someone other than us. Do you have, it sounded like you do have an objection to the size of the building. That would be relevant to this conversation. But do you have any other comments that you would like to make that are outside of the easement issue? Because the easement issue is nothing before this commission. The easement issue is a non-issue before this commission.
I understand that, Chairman Ontiveros, and we have a lawsuit on file. You may know that. It was recently filed, and to your point, someone else will decide that matter. I am unfortunately, and I apologize, I'm long-winded by nature. I did hear a lot of comments from many of the speakers in support, and I'll try to explain why all the time that I've used so far is relevant to the fulcrum or the point that I wish to make on the size of the structure and the particular CUP application.
Okay. Yes. If you could bring it to a conclusion, please.
Yes. So what I've described so far is foundational to the point that the premise about the size of this easement structure is that it's going to house these large vehicles. The Carrolls have plenty of other property, lower property, that you were told they have 40 acres where they could build other structures, even large structures. The problem that has happened with the obstruction or occlusion of the easement, the trespass on the private property, it's much more significant than what's been explained to you, is that it is tied directly to the size of this structure. In other words, if the Carrolls were not saying to you as the body that will decide the CUP application, hey, we need a big structure here because we're going to put all these long wheelbase vehicles, heavy equipment, things like that. There are semi-trailers, RVs, heavy equipment of the type that you're seeing in the photographs referenced in the applicant's materials. If they weren't planning on using the upper reaches of their property, in other words, if they're going to use something else, they wouldn't need to have a 6,500 square foot structure up there. And they also wouldn't need to have done to the road what they have done to the road. And so the objection to the size of the structure, Madam Chairwoman, is that it is tied to their use of the road and their trespass and their occlusion of the easement. And so I understand we will be in court and we will be seeking a declaration from the court that says that they have to put the road back to the way it was under the Squaw Peak Covenant Church case and other cases in Arizona. Our issue for your body, Madam Chairwoman, is that if you approve this oversized structure, then it gives some sort of credence to an argument that the Carrolls may make that there's a need for this road work that they did. Relatedly, you were told about a permit that they got, and that permit is also tied to the size of the structure because the work that they've done on the road wouldn't be needed unless they were seeking this large structure to be built on the top of the hill. And the permit that they obtained, and we're investigating this still, but it calls for work. I've seen pieces of the permit, not the whole thing yet. It calls for work to be done on the private property of my clients, not on the easement, but on the fee simple owned property of my clients. I have no idea how the county could have approved a permit for this road to create an access way for all these heavy equipment and all the long wheelbase vehicles to cut there.
Mr. Conan, I'm going to have to jump in here again. I understand your comments. Again, the issues that you are bringing up are not for this commission to decide. And so we're going to have to differentiate here. Do you have, because I'm going to have to put it into your comments regarding the easement and also regarding the issuance of any kind of a permit. That is outside of the purview of this commission. So do you have anything you would like to say that does not relate to the easement and does not relate to the issuance of a grading permit?
I will wrap, yes, I do. I'll wrap up in less than 60 seconds. Thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chairwoman. Okay. What I will conclude on that with is this. the comments that were directed against my clients and the comments that the Carrolls are fine people don't really have anything to do with this either. And unfortunately, I had to listen to those. My clients encountered the Carrolls after they had done this to the land, to their private property rights. The building size is tied to the road. The road's a problem. The size of the building, therefore, is a problem. So that would be my closing point to you on the size of the building.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Conant. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the commission on this case tonight? Okay, seeing none, I would also like to state that it looks like that we have Commissioner Ruggles back. And Mr. Conant, could I also ask you to mute and turn your camera off?
I've muted, but I'll remute and turn the camera off now, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, welcome back, Commissioner Ruggles.
Thank you. I would like to add that we lost internet, all cable service, and it affected our cell phone reception where I live. So I'm sorry about being out for almost an hour, but I'm back, and hopefully we will not lose internet. And this is not at all an unusual occurrence.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, your timing, welcome back, and your timing is perfect, because I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public now and open it up to commission discussion. We're going to go through this at a time. Commissioner Clifford, would you please comment?
Madam Chair, I think there was another person from the public who wanted to speak. I was hearing some noise in the background after Mr. Conant stopped talking.
Okay, let me reach out and see. Is there any individual in the public that wishes to address the commission on this case this evening? Okay, Commissioner Clifford, hearing none or seeing none. Mr. McNeely, are you seeing something that I'm not, where somebody is trying to address us?
Are you seeing anything?
No, they could start 6 just in case.
Madam Chair, we're not seeing or hearing anyone trying to address you. Again, reminder to anyone who's called in on a phone, if your phone has been muted, you can hit *6 on your phone and then speak and we will hear you. So, Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, all right. Then not seeing anyone, we're going to go ahead and get back where we were, and we are at commission discussion right now. Mr. Clifford, go ahead.
I've read everything in the report. I read the opposition to the building. And as stated, we cannot speak on the road, we cannot speak on the easements, we cannot speak on the grading permit, which is understandable because those are set in place by the county, not the Planning and Zoning Commission. And everybody, and the comment that the building is too big, we can only go by what is put in the report as to what the person is going to store in the building. And with the CUP, if it is, the building will be inspected throughout the CUP duration, and if there is anything being stored other than what has been asked for, the CUP will not be renewed. So at this time, I'm in favor of this CUP.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clifford. Commissioner Walters, you're up.
I know this area fairly well. I built the residence at 6600 Virgil Way, which is an adjacent mountaintop, and probably one of the only other residences that could see this property. Even though they could, I still don't think it's going to be obtrusive to them just by the nature of the architecture. So that said, keeping it brief, I approve this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Williams.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I can make the findings to support the CUP for this project.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Meyer.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, I think the building definitely fits the environment. It's a good-looking facility. A lot of thought put into it. I feel also that, in fact, I think it's kind of a shame that it's so hidden because it's a very cool-looking building. I imagine it'll look beautiful when the whole project is done. And given that, I can fully support this project in its current context. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Ruggles, I'm not sure where you came and went on this, but would you like to offer comments on this case?
Yes, although I have missed the applicant and almost the entirety of the public comment. However, I have gone over every scrap of readable material that we have gotten in the analysis so far, and a couple of times actually in great detail. First off, I can make findings for the use permit. I think that to deny it would be a denial of the applicant's rights to his private property and to use it as he sees fit. The other thing has been mentioned, and I've got to say that what Mr. Eklund presented pretty much my thoughts on this. The road and easement issue, where they belong in Superior Court. Secondly, they have no bearing on the use permit as far as what the purview of this commission is. I can make the findings, and I am very much in favor of this, especially considering the number of emails and letters that have been sent that have come in from neighbors and are in support of it. That's it, pure and simple.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggles. Commissioner Williams, I still see you unmuted. Before I go on, did you have any other additional comments that you wanted to make?
Oh, no, sorry. I just forgot.
That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and mute up. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Best.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm pretty uncomfortable with this, frankly. Access is a normal item for us to resolve in planning and zoning cases. However, and I get the point that the attorney, Mr. Conant, was trying to make, but we are instructed by the county attorney's representative, and based on that, I have to make the findings in favor, although it's uncomfortable, frankly.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Best. Commissioner Burton.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with agreeing to this conditional use permit. I would much rather see a good looking building and everything be stored in it than random items scattered throughout a property. It keeps everything clean, it keeps everything nice, and given that it doesn't sound like there'll be any view shed issues, I see no reason not to support it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Burton. Okay, this is Chairwoman Ontiveros, and I'm going to say that I just want to say for the record that I have read all of the materials, the staff reports, the attachments. I also read the supplement that was provided by Mr. Short that contained letters of support. I have done my homework on this case. Just piggybacking on Commissioner Burton's comments, I feel that this building is a very beautiful building, and it would be fine to be seen by everyone as far as I'm concerned. It has great aesthetics. I think that it would be much better to have all of the heavy equipment that the applicants have in there rather than out on the property. Even so, the equipment probably would never be seen. This building is probably never going to be seen, but I can make the findings as stated in the staff report to approve this. And so I am going to be voting to approve this case tonight. I think the applicants have done an excellent job. It sounds like they are excellent neighbors, and I have no problem approving this. So I am going to take a motion and a second, and then we will go to a vote.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve CUP 20-031 with the one recommendation.
I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Clifford and a second by Commissioner Ruggles for approval of case CUP 20-031. All of those in favor, please say aye. Commissioner Clifford?
Aye.
Commissioner Walters?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles?
Aye.
Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
And Chairwoman Ontiveros vote aye. The CUP passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is case number CUP 20-032.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Zach Schwartz with the Planning and Zoning Department, and we're looking at case number CUP 20-032. It's a request for a conditional use permit for a 100-unit campground in the general zone. I have pulled up here a vicinity map, and the subject properties are located at 620 North Lowell Drive, 370 North Lowell Drive, and 875 East High Grove Road. So you can see them up on the screen. I'm using my mouse to show you these three properties up here. Here's High Grove and here's Lowell Drive. We're right in the valley area here where Highway 180 and Highway 64 kind of converge here about a mile as the crow flies. Northeast is where the subject properties are. You'll see that everything up in this kind of whitish overlay is G zone. That's 10-acre minimum single-family residential and agricultural. And all of these just to the south of the subject properties, we have the Grand Canyon subdivision, which is primarily the AR zone, agricultural, residential, single-family. There are homes. There's one here in the G zone, just directly adjacent, and there are a couple down here in the Grand Canyon subdivision, directly adjacent as well. The parcel sizes of the subject properties are 40.02, 40.07, and 40.10 acres. That's a total of 120.19 acres. Again, these properties are in the general zone. The applicant and property manager for this request is Ian Braun of CD&E Engineering, and the owner is Green Tree Investments LLC out of Scottsdale. I have aerials of the three parcels pulled up here on the screen, and on the right side you can see a picture that I took basically from this arrow, and where it's pointed is the direction in which I'm taking the picture. So this is from North Lowell Drive, looking kind of southwest down at the properties near the middle parcel. And then the second is from the intersection of East High Grove Road and North Lowell Drive, looking northwest into the subject property. So you can see it's pretty much just scrub type grasses, and there's a couple of the pinyon juniper here. The photo on the top is kind of looking at these two. There's kind of a stand way on the western side of the northernmost property as well. And just to get into some detail on the proposed development, the applicant proposes a 100-unit tent glamping campground in 2 phases with 50 units in each phase, covering 3 parcels. The first phase would cover the southernmost portion of the 3 subject parcels, and the second phase would expand a little bit to the north. The first phase would also include in addition to 50 tent units, an 8,400 square foot reception tent, an office and auxiliary area building, barbecue and kitchen area, a storage container, a fire pit. And in the staff report, I have that there would be a musical stage area. The applicant has actually removed these from the plan, so I apologize for that. Grilling areas would be located throughout the development, and the project would be accessed through a compacted aggregate driveways. Tenants would have running water and toilets. The tents would be in groupings of 5 that would share a septic system for wastewater. But wastewater would be stored on the site, so there wouldn't be a well there. So what you're looking at is, this is phase 1. So High Grove Road is here, Lowell Road is here. And this is sort of everything under this dotted line is the first phase. So here's the reception tent, and these driveways are all the compacted AV. And you can see groupings of 5 tents here are sharing a septic system. There's of course a very large septic system here related to that reception tent. Moving on then to, we're further up north now. Here's again that dotted line, and this would be the second phase, also consisting of 50 tents. And here on the screen I have some proposed unit design examples. These are photos of what we might be looking at or something similar to it. And I apologize, this wasn't in any of the packet or the attachments, but I just received these today, in fact. Here are some examples of what the units would be designed like for the tents. So you can see this rendering here, kind of a cross section of what the tents would look like, and they have very similar type designs for these glamping tents here. And I also received this today. So here is a floor plan of the 8,400 square foot reception tent. You can see that there are some check-in areas, a concierge, lots of little dining type areas, and all different kinds of games like foosball, and it looks like exercise equipment in this portion of it, with a large fire pit outside in the front. Regarding citizen participation and neighborhood compatibility, the applicant held a meeting for interested neighbors of the subject property on June 26, 2020 at 9 a.m. via a web-based meeting program. 7 neighbors joined the meeting, and 3 neighbors were contacted by the applicant separately from the meeting. Neighbors were concerned with construction and timeline of the project, noise, the aesthetic of the project, and general compatibility with the neighborhood. Also, there were concerns about having fencing so that people who are guests on the project wouldn't be wandering into any neighboring properties. So there is a summary of that report that was attached to your staff report. And if you have any further questions on that, I'm happy to get into that. But the applicant also considered these, the input, and wrote a compatibility plan with neighboring 10-acre general zone properties and 1-acre AR zone properties. Their neighborhood compatibility report is attached to the staff report, but generally they include items like the tents and structures being designed to blend in with the natural environment and having colors that blend in, limitation on lighting, quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and location of amenities far from the property lines. Moving on, campgrounds in the general zone have a number of performance standards that are written into the zoning ordinance. And I'm just going to go through each of those and staff's analysis of how that meets the requirements. So the first is that a campground in the general zone has to be at least 10 acres in size. This is conforming, of course, because the properties altogether are 120 acres, 40 acres each. There's a maximum density in the zoning ordinance of 2 units per acre, and this project's conforming. Actually, 240 units could be permissible, but 100 are requested. Typically, a campground is supposed to access on a county-maintained road, and that's in order to ensure that there's safety with ingress and egress for fire and emergency services, and to ensure that this use, which is typically more intensive than your normal single-family residential use, that the property owner is helping to maintain the road equal to the amount that their use will require new maintenance, basically paying their way for that. So in lieu of being on a county maintained road, because this property is not, there are waiver criteria that would allow the applicant to be waived of that requirement based on meeting the maintenance and safety requirements, basically. So the applicant has submitted, and this is attached to the staff report as well, the justifications for meeting the waiver criteria, and staff agrees that these are met. Except for that, we just need, and this is conditioned in condition number 4, to make sure that our engineering division and public works division or public works department go out there and just verify that the road is capable of handling a 42,000 pound vehicle, basically the equivalent of what fire apparatus would need to be able to get into the property. The next criteria is that there is a 50-foot compatibility setback from adjacent residentially zoned properties for a campground. And you can see on the site plans that are attached that all of the tents are meeting or exceeding that setback. The neighborhood compatibility plan, that was already somewhat discussed, and it's attached to the staff report. So you can see that the applicant has considered how they would be compatible with neighboring residences, and staff, for the most part, is seeing that as being adequate. There's also a requirement that if you have RVs, that they only are 20% of all of the campsite units. So that's not applicable. We don't have RV spaces requested with this. And the last requirement here is that the subject property be within a fire district or they get subscription. And the applicant is working on that. I think today I received their kind of workup with the High Country Fire Department, which is a little bit south there in Red Lake. So they're currently working on getting that, and staff's recommendation number 2 would require that they finalize those plans and get the subscription service and have that Firewise plan finalized prior to actually occupying the site with the campground units. And I did attach the applicant's original draft of the Firewise emergency plan, which is along the lines of the type of plans that we've gotten for other campgrounds in the area, and it should work. As far as long-range planning, so the comprehensive plan has multiple goals and policies supporting tourism and supporting development that has low environmental impact. And so I have a number of policies and goals from the comprehensive plan that are in the staff report. And I won't go into detail on all of those except to summarize them, that basically staff is seeing them as that this project is consistent with supporting tourism and that it's a low impact to the environment sort of development, and it's consistent. With everything that was in the neighborhood compatibility plan, staff is finding that maybe a little bit more landscaping than what was originally proposed would help to buffer and create more compatibility with neighboring residences. So this is especially important because of neighbor concern with compatibility around. So staff is recommending that along the frontage of High Grove that we meet the number of plant units. Each plant unit, as the commission will remember, is a mixture of trees and shrubs. So having a frontage landscaping and a frontage on Lowell up to the point where it is directly adjacent with this existing home here. Staff's recommending that they do full number of plant units for that area and 1 plant unit for each grouping of 5 tents together. And so this should make the aesthetic better and help to buffer the area from neighboring residential properties and just make a better aesthetic for the area. The commission is aware that 4 findings of fact have to be made in order to approve a conditional use permit. And the first is that the proposed location of the conditional use is in accord with the objectives of this ordinance and the purpose of the zone in which the site is located. And staff's response is that the commercial campgrounds are allowed through the approval of the CUP process in the general zone, subject to a number of conditions or a number of parameters. And those have for the most part been met or they are conditioned. The second is that the proposed location of the conditional use and the conditions under which it would be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the general vicinity. Staff's response is that the proposed use has a density of units that is under the allowance of section 3.18 campgrounds. It is buffered by space and planned landscaping from neighboring residential properties. And the applicant's working on fire-wise and emergency plans and the ingress egress. So staff does believe that as conditioned and as proposed, that the case will meet this finding. The third finding of fact is that the proposed conditional use will comply with each of the applicable provisions of this ordinance except for approved variances. Staff is finding that that is met. Of course, we have an approved variance, a waiver from the county maintained road requirement that would be part of this approval. So staff does find that as being met. And four, that the proposed conditional use is consistent with and conforms to the goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan or specific plan for the area. Again, I've laid out a number of goals and policies where this is consistent, and staff does feel that the request is generally consistent with those plans. So with that, staff is recommending approval of case CUP 20032, subject to the 13 conditions of the staff report. I'm happy to take any questions from the commission at this time.
Zach, I do have a couple of things here. In looking at the results of the neighborhood meeting, I know noise was a concern. Can you add a little bit to this? Was it related to construction noise, which I did see, or was it related to the original proposal? There would be a sound stage for some type of entertainment at that venue, or both, perhaps.
Right, Madam Chair, Commissioner Ruggles, I do think that the proposed music stage possibility was a decent amount of the concern related to that. And like I said, the applicant has struck that from their plans, so that concern is no longer a concern, is no longer a relevant concern. And as far as, I think construction noise was a big part of it as well, but it shouldn't take a whole lot of construction. These are temporary sort of tent units, and also the distance away from the property lines. Staff is finding that as being an impact that's mitigated, especially by removing the music stage from the request.
Okay, and I have another question for you. In reviewing the recommended conditions, we've done a very good job of addressing outdoor lighting, but in looking at this, I see condition number 5 and condition number 10 both address lighting. And condition 10, as far as I can see, is much better written for purposes of this. And if the two are still in there, when we get to the commission discussion on this, you can probably guess what I'm going to recommend, and that would be to keep 10 and strike 5. But am I out of date with what I've got in my hand right here or not?
Right, Commissioner Ruggles, I appreciate that you noticed that. I guess I was overzealous on wanting to make sure that we had the lighting issue under control. I would say that, right, number 10 is a more thoroughly written condition, except for the fact that it appears that that last sentence should be a residential standard should be met, so that we're making sure we are not opening it up to the commercial levels of lighting, which is not what was intended because of the rural area that this is located and the neighboring residential. It should meet the residential standards for that zone. So yeah, if you want to nix 5 and modify the language for number 10, that would be great. I appreciate that.
Well, actually, as far as the conditions in 10 go, the only change that I was looking at, and I don't want to get into a premature discussion of this, but would be to add phosphor converted LED as an option depending on availability for the application, like the sign at the entrance to the property. There may be limited availability of narrow spectrum amber LED lighting that would be available for that sign. I've done some recent work looking at what is and what isn't available, and that may be one of those things that you could allow in that area. I think asking for just narrow spectrum LED lighting for all of the other outdoor lighting that is necessary is absolutely feasible and is quite appropriate for the area. So
I'll defer to you there, Commissioner Ruggles.
When we get to the commission discussion, then I can see what other commissioners think about what I'm recommending.
Thank you.
And I'll give you a little better wording for that too, if you like, at that point, because I only did a just an overview of what I was recommending, but pretty simple to change. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruggles. Are there any other questions or comments for staff from the commissioners?
I have a couple of questions. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at this project, it seems like the landscaping is going to make a huge difference, both to the impact on the community and actually to the applicant as well. Without landscaping, this is a sea of tents. With landscaping, it could look very different. The applicant is proposing to both haul water and irrigate. Have you discussed with him the option of using gray water, which seems a lot more practical and something that might actually get done? It's hard to believe that they're going to pay for water to haul in and irrigate plants with. So anyway, I would suggest that you do that. See if gray water could be an option. There was also. Go ahead.
That's really appreciated. I think that's a really good note. We hadn't been able to nail out all the details going that far. And I know that that would be a good option for the applicants and for neighboring property owners. So I know that there's a chance later on in the meeting for the applicant to respond. And if I know him, I think that he'll be pretty receptive to that comment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And also, I read a lot of stuff, but I'm just unclear if there's going to be a fence and if there are going to be signs on the fence that, in the sweetest way, encourage campers to respect private property on the other side of the fence. I was just unclear about whether that was an actual condition.
Right. So Commissioner Best, staff didn't look at requiring that there be any sort of fencing, except for in condition 8, noting that any fencing that there would be wildlife friendly type fencing. If the commission feels like that's one of the neighborhood compatibility goals that we want to reach, that might be good to add that they shall do that, or maybe the applicant has an idea about what they could do in order to mitigate some of the issues spoken about regarding the fencing.
Mm-hmm. In the Firewise department, it says it's recommending cutting trees back 5 feet from grade. That means you would basically be able to see under every tree. I can't, it's hard because I don't have this in front of me. I don't print all this stuff, but I'm going to suggest that you guys change that and say keep combustible materials back from vegetation that could ignite. So we don't have to basically cut away half. I mean, these trees grow so slowly that cutting away 5 feet high would mean it'd be 30 years before you had a tree.
Right. Commissioner Best, so this is just sort of language that was, to be honest with you, a little bit boilerplate that came from my country fire department. So without me being an expert in that realm, I just kind of added that language to any of the campground requests that were in this area. But I'm sure that that can be modified the way that you're discussing.
And also, I would add a a weed management plan. I'll just tack it on the end of condition 11 when the time is appropriate. That's the landscaping condition. Last thing, I promise. I was part of a group that lost a tent last year. It was probably on the order of 8,400 square feet. People were injured. It came down in a little whirlwind. So I don't know how you handle the engineering, but I think that the county should be involved in the engineering, because that's a great big structure made of cloth, and they can come down. So I don't know what the normal procedure is, whether it goes through our engineers or if they get an engineer, but somebody should be very careful with that structure.
Right, Commissioner Best, I do appreciate what you're saying. I think that the tent structures, the way that the applicant is planning them, is that they're sort of temporary in duration, that they'll be up. And there's a certain number of days, it's something like 6 months or something, that when a structure is up, after that amount of days up, it has to have a building permit. My understanding is that the applicant is going to be looking at staying under those amount of days, so they aren't required to do a building permit. And in lieu of that, I'm not sure of anything that our department requires or reviews that can ensure some of that safety there. So I do think it's a good point. Maybe the applicant has a way of explaining how they're planning on dealing with that issue, but I'm not sure that our department is able to handle that without a full building permit. And then if we ask for a full building permit, a tent structure like that would be very hard to do that with because of snow loads, wind loads, that sort of thing. So I do think it's a really good issue to bring up, and I'm glad that you brought it up. I'd be curious to see how the applicant is planning on addressing that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Best. Seeing no other commissioners unmuting, I'm going to ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to address the commission, please.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, and please state your address, your name and address. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Ian Braun. I am the applicant's civil engineer. My address is 618 East Route 66, Flagstaff, Arizona 86001. I'd just like to thank you all for your time and say that I agree with all the conditions of approval, and I agree with everything in the staff report. And I have been jotting down some notes as questions came up, so I can just go through those now. And if I miss yours, I'll be available for questions. So Madam Chair, Commissioner Best, yes, we will be. One of the main concerns from the neighbors was actually too much landscaping, because there's one community well with hauled water, and we'll all be using that water. So one of the biggest concerns was they didn't want to see too much landscaping and too much non-native landscaping that would be using up the water. So any landscaping we do will be irrigated with gray water. And my background, I'm actually a wastewater engineer. So due to the soil conditions there, we'll have alternative wastewater treatment systems with disinfection. So actually some plants can potentially be irrigated with black water, treated black water as well through drip irrigation lines. If I'm looking at some of the other questions, so the fencing, we definitely got comments on fencing. People wanted to see fencing because there is active cattle grazing. So the plan would be to fence the property with wildlife friendly fencing. Our neighbor to the east, Ronald Newberry, that's something, the fencing that we're going to put adjacent to his property is something we want to discuss with him, just because he may want more of maybe a taller or a solid fence to kind of isolate his property. So we'll be in touch with him as far as the kind of fencing he wants to see. And he mentioned he wanted to see fencing to prevent people from wandering onto his property. Moving on to any other questions. Oh, so the reception tent, due to its size, we will need to get a building permit for it. And our on-staff structural engineer, Thomas Nelson, will be doing the design of that structure. And then we're working on getting contracted with a tent company that will basically custom sew the tent for us. So that's shouldn't be a concern. We will be getting a building permit with that, and we will be doing our own in-house structural engineering. I don't know if I missed any other questions you brought up just initially, but I'm available to answer any questions that the commission has.
See, I'd like to ask you one thing here. I'm sure you heard my questions of Mr. Schwartz on lighting. I know that you are in zone 3 with this, but given the requirement that is being placed on you for amber LED lighting, do you see that as any kind of problem with what you would like to do with lighting there?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ruggles, I see no issue with that at all. In fact, it's common for tent campgrounds like this to have solar units at each tent, and LED lighting is a very efficient use of energy. So I would see no issue with that at all.
I'll be bringing this, the addition to the condition 10 that I brought up. I would like to see what other commissioners think about the, the optional change that relates to exactly that. May make it a little easier for you to accomplish lighting the way you want to do it with solar powered and lighting for this. So I think you'll find it a bit more easy to live with and work with. So we'll see how the discussion goes. But thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Chair Ontiveros, it appears you're muted.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. I'm not sure when I muted myself, but seeing that there are no further questions for the applicant, I'm going to open it for public comment. So are there any questions from the comments from the public for the commission this evening? Yeah. Okay, I hear someone, but I can't see who it is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, are you Ronald Newberry?
Yes, I'm Ronald Newberry.
Okay, Mr. Newberry, please state your address for the record and then go ahead and address the commission, please.
1001 East High Grove Road.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Newberry. Go ahead and address the commission, please.
Pardon me?
Go ahead. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on because I'm not a techie, but you're echoing really bad. I'm not sure what to do about it, but we're going to have to figure it out because it's almost like we can't hear you.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me see if I can turn it up.
So, Mr. Newberry, if you move your microphone further away from your speakers, we're getting a lot of echo. That's an indicator that possibly your microphone is too close to your speakers. So if you would move whatever you're using as a microphone further away from your speakers.
Can you hear me now?
That's better, Mr. Newberry. Go ahead and address the commission and let's see how that goes.
Okay. We have quite a few concerns on the
Okay, no, Mr. Newberry, let me go ahead. Whatever is happening, that echo is still happening. And so we really can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Go ahead and try it again, Mr. Newberry.
I can't understand.
Okay, Mr. Newberry, go ahead and address the commission.
Okay, can you understand me now?
It is better. So go ahead and let's see how far we can get.
Hello, this is Mrs. Newberry. Can you hear me?
Okay, Mrs. Newberry, go ahead.
All right. We have several problems with this project. We live so close, we could throw a rock from our house over to where the proposed project is. We're retired out here. We've been out here for 17 years. We live here for the peace and quiet and solitude. Now, this place next door is going to bring hundreds of people in right next door to us. This concerns us with noise, lighting, traffic, dust, construction noise, noise from guests because they will be up here on vacation. What else do we have on our list, honey?
Just noise, light.
Noise, lights, two people. It's too close to our home. It's totally going to ruin the ambiance that we count on here. This is specifically why we moved here. Now, if you guys were another 10 acres over, we wouldn't care. But it's right. It is so close to our house. It's not even funny. This is bad for us.
Okay, Mrs. Newberry, this is Chairwoman Ontiveros. I would like to ask you a question.
Yes.
Mr. Braun indicated that he was going to be working directly with you guys to put up a fence that I guess was hopeful that it may alleviate some of these issues. Do you believe that there is a type of fence that would alleviate the concerns that you have expressed to the commission?
Yes, we are concerned about people wandering onto our property. We have 10 acres over here with quite a few outbuildings. We don't want anybody trespassing over here. But my bigger concern is the lighting, the noise, the hundreds of people that are suddenly going to be our neighbors.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying. Just more specific. Mr. Braun said that he would be working directly with you to put
We
up.
haven't heard anything from Mr. Braun. Oh, I'm sorry. My husband said he's spoken with him. I'm sorry.
Okay, what I'm wondering is the concerns that you have expressed to this commission tonight, do you believe that a fence would alleviate the issues?
No.
Okay, and
there's
no
still going to be the lighting, the noise, just the whole thing. It's just too close to our house, and it's going to disturb our peace and quiet. We're elderly. We like our quiet. We go to bed early. We don't want to listen to people having parties over there. Just the whole thing just does not work for us.
Okay, and I do understand that. Let me just ask this question of you, that there is a quiet time from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Does that help you at all?
That would help with the one issue, yes.
Okay.
Now, the lighting we're concerned with because we like it out here that it's dark. You can see all the stars, and it's very beautiful. And we're concerned that the lighting might block out or affect our vision of the sky and just kind of be a bother to us over here, frankly.
Okay, and Commissioner Ruggles has indicated that he has a lot to say about lighting, so we will be getting to that issue at the commission discussion. Thank you very much. Do you have any further comments, Ms. Newberry?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have a shooting range in our backyard, perfectly legal. And hold on, I'm going to hand you to my husband, okay? Just a sec.
Okay.
A lot of the locals come over here to sight their rifles in hunting season. And we have targets set up at ranges, and we shoot a lot over here. We shoot trap, and target shooting. And if that's going to be a problem, then I don't know. I'll have to object.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other issues that you guys would like to bring to the commission's attention?
Is there anything else we want to add?
No, that's it. That's all I can think of.
Okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Newberry. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to address the commission on this case tonight? Okay, I am not seeing anyone. Mr. McNeely, are you?
Madam Chair, we are not seeing anyone trying to speak, no.
Okay, thank you. Then seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close it to public and open it for commission discussion. Mr. Clifford, Commissioner Clifford, go ahead and offer your comments.
After reading through everything and seeing Zach's presentation, I can't, with Mr. Braun going to help with the fencing issues, I can't see any reason why I cannot support this CUP.
Okay. Commissioner Walters.
I've reviewed all the documents, listened to everybody. I'm a little concerned about the established shooting range next door affecting this operation, but they're grandfathered in, and that needs to be a consideration for the people that are moving in.
Right. Commissioner Walters, can you hold on just 1 second for me? I would like to ask Mr. and Mrs. Newberry if they could please mute. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, Commissioner Walters, please continue. The last thing I believe you said, concerns about the shooting range, but that it is grandfathered in. Go ahead and pick up from there.
It is. I believe it is, and they have some legitimate concerns. The problem with open land like that, with private property rights, they certainly can exercise their rights to build on there, and I think this is a very light use of it. So I can support it and intend to. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I can support it too. And it is a CUP. So, if for some reason it becomes super noisy late at night, or there are other issues that are really affecting the neighbors, they do have some recourse. And I think that the quiet times, I just think if they're respected, then it might not be as bad as they think. And, conversely, having a bunch of shooting next door is, it's sort of going to be tough on the people in the campground. So everybody's kind of got to figure it out. But I can support it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Meyer.
It's not a perfect scenario, and I don't care how much landscaping you put into it. It's going to be an eyesore, in my opinion. But having said that, good quality management from the facility will alleviate a lot of the problems. And many times, as you know, a good fence makes for good neighbors. So a combination there, I can support it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ruggles.
Okay, I've got a couple of things I'd like to address here. I have heard from the neighbors about noise, I also realize that the applicant has stated that there will be quiet time from 8 p.m. until 8 a.m. However, one of the ways that we have chosen to address issues like this in the past is to simply put a condition in the CUP that sound levels shall not exceed 50 dBA at the property line. Now, for this use without a sound stage or live entertainment of any kind, I think that a requirement like that would not be onerous. However, it would give the neighbors something in terms of leverage. The other thing is, I know the neighbors have a shooting range, and as Commissioner Walters has stated, essentially they were there first, they're grandfathered in. It's quite legal. But I doubt that after dark, they're doing a heck of a lot of shooting out there. Myself, I'm a dedicated target shooter, pro-Second Amendment guy, and people who do shooting after dark, unless it's under certain controlled conditions, just isn't going to happen very much. And I do not think it would be at all hypocritical to state that that 50 dBA limit should be in place because the campground is probably going to be more heavily utilized after hours of darkness when everything at the neighbor's place is quite quiet. So that's just something I would like the other commissioners to think about. Relative to condition 10, this is for Zach. The wording that I think is appropriate for that would be for the last sentence to read, a lighting permit shall be obtained prior to installation of any outdoor lighting. Excuse me. I'm sorry, let me back up. Additionally, all outdoor lighting, which is the next to the last sentence, additionally, all outdoor lighting shall be fully shielded and narrow spectrum or phosphor converted LED or amber LED. A lighting permit shall be obtained prior to installation of any outdoor lighting. Residential standards should be met or could be met. Could, I think, should read should. Relative to the question that neighbors had about lighting, if narrow spectrum amber LED is used and it is fully shielded, the impact on their view of the sky at night is going to be extremely limited. That lighting, and I would like to say for the neighbors' benefit, that this is almost identical to the color you will see with low pressure sodium. It is a very a dark hue of yellow. There is almost no glare, which the benefit of that is if there are any dust particles in the air or moisture or snow during the winter, that there is almost no glare or scatter as a result of having a light out there that is fully shielded and is also narrow spectrum amber. So I think their concerns are fully addressed with what is being proposed for lighting. With only those two things, I can make the findings for that. And with working with the neighbors, I think the issue of a fence such as the masonry fence along the side that is adjacent to their property would be appropriate, and I hope they can work something out with this. But otherwise, I can make the findings for this.
Commissioner Chair Ontiveros, you're muted. So if you're trying to move on to the next commissioner.
Sorry about that. Okay. The next one is Commissioner Best.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. I'm going to suggest a couple of conditions that will help me make the findings on this. Add to condition number 11, the landscaping condition, a weed management plan shall require yearly assessment and removal of non-native invasive plants. Just a word of comment there. We're going to have hundreds of people on this land. They will be moving all over northern Arizona. If we have invasive weeds putting out seeds on this land, they will be carrying them all over northern Arizona. We don't want that. A new condition, a wildlife-friendly fence shall be constructed around the property, and signs shall be installed that discourage campers from crossing onto adjacent private property. Another new condition, quiet hours shall be maintained from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And Commissioner Ruggles has his lighting condition. I think the words target shooting probably have the applicant having a whole new vision of the fence between him and the adjacent property owner there who actually lives there. So I kind of think that's going to take care of that. I think there's going to be a pretty solid fence there that's going to take care of a lot of the noise. Other than that, I think it's a good project. Fills a need, and I think if there's quality management of the project over time, long time, we'll get some landscaping in there and it'll look good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Best. Commissioner Burton?
I agree with everything my fellow commissioners have said so far, and I can make the findings.
Okay, thank you. This is Chairwoman Ontiveros. I also agree with the comments that the commissioners have made. I would like to thank Commissioner Ruggles for his explanation on how the lighting is not going to be as bad as probably what Mr. and Mrs. Newberry thought that it would be. So thank you for that explanation, and I believe it probably helped them too. I hope that it did. And yeah, you're right. This is an interesting project where we have a target shooting and a campground becoming neighbors. And I think that Mr. Braun, when you said that you were going to be working with the commission, or excuse me, with Mr. and Mrs. Newberry for a fence, you have heard their concerns that they've expressed tonight and why really they don't want your project there. So I am looking forward to you working with them to help, minimize and mitigate the impact of this project on their peaceful way of life. That said, I can make the findings necessary to approve this, and we'll be voting in favor of it. Commissioner Ruggles, I see that you unmuted.
Yes, and this is addressed to Commissioner Best. I'd like to know, well, first thing, the quiet hours being specified in the conditions, I think is a good way to go. I thought about that myself, but the other thing is, I think that a limit, as we have specified in other CUPs, should be added. I'd like to ask Commissioner Best if he would consider adding sound levels shall not exceed 50 dBA at the property line, in addition to the wording he has proposed.
Commissioner Best, would you like to respond to Commissioner Ruggles, please?
Sorry about that. Forgot to unmute. That seems reasonable. There could be equipment issues here that could make that a problem. So I will add that quiet hours shall be maintained from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and noise level shall not exceed 50 dB at the property line.
I think you want to make that dBA, since there are a number of sound pressure levels that are used, that being the most commonly used. So that's the only thing I would ask you to add.
At the property line at all times.
Yeah, and is it, if it's specified as dB on the A scale, dBA, that would be
noise levels shall not exceed 50 dBA at the property line at all times.
Okay. Commissioner Ruggles, does that satisfy the proper wording for what you feel is necessary here?
I think that is plenty workable, no problem. And I'd just like to make sure that we're okay with, let's say, condition 10, and that Zach has the wording that I wanted to add, that I had a little problem in the lighting here, reading everything in the right order. So it's actually the second to the last sentence. And that condition would be modified to read, additionally, all outdoor lighting shall be fully shielded, narrow spectrum or phosphor converted amber LED, depending on the availability for the application. And that's a lot more restrictive than it sounds.
Okay. All right. So if we're ready, Commissioner Clifford, I see you've unmuted.
Yeah, since we're going all over the place here. Fencing, number 8. Any fencing on the subject property shall be wildlife friendly fencing approved by the wildlife planner with signage stating no trespassing.
Commissioner Clifford, if I can comment, I've got, is there already a
number 8 is already.
So this would be a new number 8?
No. Number 8 is already there with fencing being wildlife friendly. It's already in the conditions. We just need to add the signage.
Okay, I wasn't, unfortunately, I'm in a place where I can't print, and so I can't
That's
see.
fine. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it was already there. We don't need another condition on it. It's already there.
Okay.
So that being said, do we need to do anything with the other subject property with a privacy fence versus a wildlife friendly fence? Do we need to add that into these conditions?
That's a good point, because we would have a conflict there. And
yep.
Okay.
And we're talking about the fence on the Newberry.
On the Newberry property, yes.
Is that the southeast corner?
Zach, can you let us?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I can even bring it up. The Newberries are on the very southeast corner. And let's see if I can bring up kind of something here. So these, oops. Are you seeing my screen right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are the subject properties. Newberry is here. So you're talking about right here.
Same place we talked about this landscape.
I have a condition about landscaping discussing it.
They're across the road.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz, we're specifically talking about the fencing now, a privacy fencing on that property. So it's not necessarily landscaping anymore.
Right, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just clarifying that there might be language that it possibly could be helpful for writing a similar type condition with fencing, where I also mentioned something about landscaping in a different, just in case that helps guide the writing of a new condition from the dais.
Mr. Schwartz, can you give us the parcel number of that property?
Parcel number is 501-79001B. B is in boy.
And then Mr. Schwartz, why don't you give the proposed language, please?
Okay, let me take a look. It looks like we were looking at modifying condition number 8 to any fencing on the subject property shall be wildlife-friendly fencing approved by the wildlife planner with additional signage stating no trespassing. Maybe we could add another sentence to that. Okay. So we could say any fencing on the subject property shall be wildlife-friendly fencing approved by the wildlife planner with signage stating no trespassing, except for a privacy fence between the subject property and parcel number 501-79001B to be a solid 6-foot fence or something like that. Do you think that works?
Yeah, I do. I personally do think that works.
Okay.
Mr. Schwartz, I've got a question. Are they on the other side of the road of this property?
Boy, Commissioner Clifford, the road is here, Lowell Drive, so they are across.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a fence there, then we're going to have a road in between, which is going to give us more distance from the property line. Okay.
There would be fence, landscaping, and road as a buffer, according to the landscape condition that's already there, the modified number 8 related to your all's discussion, and then you can see the road there. So, right.
Okay.
Thank you. Could I ask? I know this is getting very confusing, and I think I'm going to make a suggestion, Madam Chair. At some point, somebody move to approve, and I'm glad to do it. And then we spend some time really nailing down these conditions because it is hard to figure this out.
Yeah,
but I wonder if the owners of that parcel, and forgive me, I've forgotten their names.
Newberry.
The Newberries, is that fence that goes to the end of their property sufficient to catch any stray bullets, to put it bluntly? It could go farther, we could go farther north, and it could be that the applicant would be enthusiastic about it going farther north, because obviously a stray bullet entering his property is not going to be taken lightly.
Can you hear me?
So if
This
the
is
Newberries
Newberry.
could more or less assure us that a fence that goes to the end of their property would be sufficient.
The shooting is to the northeast. But that Lowell Road is not where it's supposed to be. Lowell Road is on our property.
Mr. Schwartz, can you bring some clarification? You've heard the discussion between Mr. Newberry, the commission. Can you bring some clarification here?
Madam Chair, I will do my best to do that. I'm wondering if, with Mr. Newberry on the line, oops, sorry, my mapping is.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Right. I'm sorry, hold on.
And another way that we can do this is simply to say, the fence between the two properties can be non-wildlife friendly, and it can go farther north as approved by staff. And then everybody can just, work this out. We want safety first. We want wildlife to be able to pass through second. And maybe it's kind of tough to figure out right now.
Well,
Mr. Schwartz, what are your thoughts on that?
Right, so Madam Chair and Commissioner Best, if we're looking at the language that's kind of, we had just gone through with number 8, where we add on sort of a sentence, with the exception of a 6-foot solid privacy fence between the subject property and assessor's parcel number 501790001B. I think that doesn't necessarily limit it to right in this area at the very end. It can be something where there's a discussion between staff, the Newberries, and the applicant, where we all kind of come into an agreement, and that language, I think, would be open enough for staff to sort of approve a design that everyone can agree with. So, so I think that'll do it.
Okay. Okay, so what I would like to do, because there has been a lot of discussion, this is not easy to do this. So I would like to go through the conditions. If we're ready to move to the motion, I would like to go through the conditions. Mr. Schwartz, if you can help out here on the ones that we were specifically talking about modifying, and read those out so there is no question about what has been said.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to do this, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Right, sure, you're welcome. I think the first thing was that number 5 and number 10 were saying similar things, but 10 was written better. So we were going to completely scratch number 5.
Yes, and I agree with that. And can you read the modified condition number 10?
Right. So outdoor lighting shall be substantially consistent with the type and number of lights as shown in the applicant's submittal, except as modified in this condition, : all outdoor lighting shall meet the requirements of section 4.3 of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, all outdoor lighting shall be fully shielded in narrow spectrum amber LED or phosphor. I can't. Commissioner Ruggles, would you mind?
I need to help you out a little bit.
Is it phosphorus converted?
Let me back up just a notch.
Commissioner Ruggles, do you have? We're going to strike condition number 5. Do you have condition number 10 fully written out?
Yes, I do.
Okay, would you please read that for the other commissioners?
I will do that. Do you want the whole thing or just what the one sentence that needs modification?
No, go ahead and read the whole thing at this point.
Okay. Outdoor lighting shall be substantially consistent with the type and number of lighting fixtures as shown on the applicant's submittal, except as modified in this condition. All outdoor lighting shall meet the requirements of section 4.3 of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, all outdoor lighting shall be fully shielded and narrow spectrum or phosphor converted LED. Excuse me. I missed the word amber. Let me read the I'm going to read the sentence that begins, additionally, all outdoor lighting shall be fully shielded and narrow spectrum or phosphor converted amber LED, depending on availability for the application. The last sentence, residential standards should be met.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ruggles. The other condition that was going to be modified, I believe, Commissioner Best, you have the wording on that. Would you please read that? Commissioner Best, could you unmute and read the modified language on the landscaping and weed mitigation? There you go.
Yes, thank you. Add to condition number 11, a weed management plan shall require yearly assessment and removal of non-native invasive plants.
Okay.
And there's another one, which I believe is a new one. Quiet hours shall be maintained from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Noise levels shall be maintained below 50 dBA at the property line at all times.
Okay.
And then we had, in addition to the fencing, what I had written was a little nicer than my colleague, so I'll read it and you guys can go with it or not. Signs shall be installed that discourage campers from crossing onto adjacent private property.
Instead of the no trespassing.
Yeah, I really don't like no trespassing signs, and I respect people's properties, but it's just you know, we're trying to put a happy face on things. That's all.
Okay, just from
that's all. And then we had there was one, and then there was the one for the southeast corner. Do you want me to take a shot at that?
I do.
All right. Fencing at the southeast corner of the property may be installed that is non-wildlife friendly as approved by staff. And then I think everybody has an incentive there to get together and do the right thing. The applicant wants to be safe. The neighbors want to be safe. And we want as much wildlife friendly fencing as possible. So balancing those three things. And let staff work it out.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ruggles, I see you unmuted. Do you have anything further before we head to a motion?
No, not at this point, and I should have muted.
That's okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. Then I think that we're ready for a motion. So if somebody would like to do that.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve CUP-20-032 with the conditions as written and as modified this evening.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Best and a second by Commissioner Burton for approval of CUP 20-032. All of those in favor, please say aye. Commissioner Clifford?
Aye.
Commissioner Walters?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles?
Aye.
Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
And Chairwoman Ontiveros also votes aye. The motion passes unanimously. The final item on the agenda is a call to the public for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to address the commission on this? Okay, I am not seeing any. Mr. McNeely, are you?
Madam Chair, I am not seeing anyone in the meeting attempting to speak, no.
Okay, well then the meeting is adjourned.